and welcome to the next episode of Talk to Me About, the Guilty Gear podcast where we talk about your faves and why you love them. I'm your host, Dee. Hi, hello. I'm here with my co-host, Jay. Hi, Jay. How are you?
Hello. I am doing great. I am feeling virile and youthful. I'm ready to talk about the coolest old bastard that we have ever seen.
That is such a lie. I had to kick you out of bed this morning.
Completely untrue. You're the sleepy one here. You're trying to take the heat off yourself.
I got coffee. I'm feeling I am spry. You know what? No one says spry anymore.
Back in my day, people used to say spry.
But you know who else is spry? Kliff Undersn, the subject of today's video. He's kind of been abandoned on the account that he's dead, but you know what?
they kind of haven't been hanging out with him ever since they buried him. What's up with that?
You know what? Why don't they dig up his corpse? It's really kind of weird.
Yeah, let's hang out.
But we got three people that love this old man on today. So let's start with introducing a familiar face. It's Caleb or Vulture. Hey, how you doing?
Hello, I'm back. I'm doing alright. It's early. We're chilling though.
Astute viewers may remember from the Justice episode that you used to main Kliff and then you swapped over to Justice, right?
I did. I played the character for probably a little over 2 years, I think.
That's still a lot of info to have on, you know?
Yeah, going from 2021 into the beginning of 2020. So the end of 2021 into the beginning of 2024 is when I would say I was solely maining Kliff.
Mm-hmm.
And then there were some creative differences between me and the old man.
Did you ever get results with Kliff but before you swapped over to Justice, or?
Yeah, so I had a few. I had a fifth place as 5th out of 61 at a regional here in North Carolina.
Woo!
And then I had, what was it? There was 13th at CE Otaku. And then like a nice little handful of online placements. A couple of I had a second in a pretty big one, and I ended up losing to Native in Grands because I can't fight Pot to save my life.
Well, I mean, Grands is pretty good.
Yeah. So I definitely put in some work with the character. Not as much as the other two here, but I definitely did get some. I took some names.
You've got a storied history with him, regardless.
Yeah.
Next up, we have esteemed poster T5. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm great. Okay, good. I clicked on mute. Sorry, I was choking on water earlier because I was laughing at the creative differences comment. Because I was there for that. I'll get into that later.
It's not you, Kliff. It's me. It's just I think we're going in two completely opposite directions.
Yeah, that was the best Jamba Juice I've ever bought somebody. But yeah, I'm T5. People call me T5 instead of just the whole name. A lot easier. I have been playing Kliff.
For?
Nothing. It stands for I was 16 years old and I key mashed and fell asleep on the keyboard because I was tired trying to think of a good username.
I think that's what the kids call Aura. That's cool.
Oh. I don't know what the kids say.
I checked on your Twitter. You wrote for Nintendo? That's kind of crazy.
Well, a Nintendo website, yeah. Like it's I still do. I reviewed Ys quite recently. You know, those games. But yeah. I've been playing Guilty Gear for about as long, maybe a little longer than Caleb actually. I'm one of the newer players, funny enough. I started in the rollback beta in 2020. I also did not start on Kliff. I was on Robokai and Soul.
How long until you realized that Robokai was a mistake?
That took me a couple months. And I said,
you really tried to make him work then.
I tried, and then I was like, I think he's not for me. But surely he's not that bad. I just don't think it worked out. That was my understanding
Creative
at the time.
differences yet again.
And then I picked Soul, and I was like, what the hell? These Sidewinder loops are cool, but they're weird. I don't like this character's combo structure at all. Where's my neutral? And I was just like, screw it, I'm just gonna stop playing the game. I'm done with it. And then my friends were like, well, every now and then you pick Kliff, and you have fun with Kliff when you play him, you just do shit. And I'm like, you're right. Maybe I should just play Kliff.
Mhm.
And so in 2021, at the very beginning of the year, I was like, you know what? Sure, I'll just go all in on Kliff, and I'll play the game not to like even try to get good at it. I'll just play it to have fun. 2 years later, we find the most godless Oki known to mankind. We learn how stun routing gets really, really goofy.
We talked about it with Caleb on the Justice episode, but I think it's really kind of beautiful that the rollback patch came in for this game. So many fresh faces came in with plus R, like enough so that like I think half the community is old and half the community is like 16 years old, and that like Kliff ended up just getting discovered along with ABBA. Now they're really, really developed, and the like tier list has completely like switched around. I think that's always been really beautiful about games like this and Melee, where it's like, oh, the scene is really gonna keep developing, and you're not even gonna know like what the game's gonna be played like 10 years from now. Really cool.
Yeah, because at that point I was like, wow, I thought this character like had some kind of like potential or was pretty decent when I was learning in 2021 and in early 22, and then it was just like, oh god, I felt like I like opened the Pharaoh's crypt, and now we're here.
I mean, you have like half a brain, and you look at Kliff pressing // and you're like, "There's no way this guy can be that bad."
Right? What? The button's only -4, but yeah, that's me. That's my rule.
Thank you for coming on. And last but not least, Hano, how are you doing?
Good morning from NorCal. Hi, I am Hano or Rodrigo. I play Kliff as well. I've been playing Guilty Gear since, 2004? But back then, not very well. But yeah, I've been around for some time.
What was the game at 2004? Was that XXX?
Well, that's the problem. It was XX in the States, but then if you're competitive, you had to import XX Reload, and then you had to mod your PS2 with like the swap magic
that's
flip-flop.
annoying.
Oh, wow.
And then Mr. Wizard would tell you, no, we're running XX vanilla at reload. I mean, yeah, I know. I won't get into that, but yeah, there were problems with Evo where they wanted to run the old version of XX vanilla, even though Reload had come out in Japan, and the community had to like fight for it. There was a lot of stuff that happened.
What was that
back then.
Evo like then? Who ended up winning? Like, it sounds like everyone was confused about the patch. Like, how did that even go down then?
Wasn't that a Daigo year?
I think that was a Daigo year.
Was that where the Daigo XX clip came from, where he's just like styling with Sidewinder loops?
Oh, actually, Sidewinder wasn't even until Slash, but back then it was just dust loops. Yeah, so I think Daigo or Miu, the MIU, like this other soul from Japan, were like the main players that were like being, that were coming over to the States, and then there were also, cheap Eddie users.
Like there was like a Daigo 1, I think 03 and 04, and around that time, I think Boss was coming over too.
Yes, the CVS2 player, right?
Yeah, CVS2. He's an Eddie player.
Then everyone had
RF was in some of those VODs too, right?
Oh, who?
Was it RF for Evo as well?
RF did come over a few years, but I think for Slash, I don't know if he came over for Evo.
Not for Slash. I know for Vanilla XX, I remember seeing RF, and I
maybe.
swear it was an Evo tape.
Maybe.
I could be wrong.
Yeah.
Could have been a ToDs or an SBO.
The game back then was pretty small compared to what we have now.
It's cool seeing you stick with it for so long. I know recently you went to Frosty's and you came out of 4th against, I think, Safari, was it?
Oh gosh, yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Did you end up getting to play Kadako at all? It was cool that he came
in
over.
casuals. In casuals, I won. I'm just better. Kliff is just better. Kliff is like if you like did some weird spell on May and like deconstructed her and like re-put her back together, and she was just better. That's Kliff.
That sounds like a nightmare.
Sorry, May fans. No, it's all
but
good.
He's not.
He's just better.
No, we don't. May players.
We don't talk about them.
Yes, so Hano did place in the top 8, and then the year after that, I did a run as well, and I made sure to get Kliff in the top. We got 2 Kliffs in top 8.
Last time. Izzy and T5.
Yeah, it was my student and myself, and we got to play the Kliff mirror on the big stage, which was very fun.
Wow, that's so sweet.
That is really sick.
Yeah.
That's like some Naruto-ass shit.
But bringing it back for a second, I was actually an Eno player for like the majority of my Guilty Gear life, and then I switched to Kliff. I switched to Kliff because the Nintendo Switch came out, and when it came out, it was only delayed netcode, and I could not do Eno combo, so I'm like, I'm gonna pick someone easy and stupid. So I like looked all over the character select screen. I'm like, Kliff, and then.
That sounds so real because especially like Eno had she's got some like knuckle breaking combos in this game.
Sorta. I mean, it's not as bad as some people say, but they are a little strict. I really prefer playing Eno offline. It makes a big difference, but But with Kliff though, like everything was pretty responsive for delay netcode, and then we finally got rollback, and I just kind of got stuck on him. Like it was so fun, and I
Wait,
just kept exploring.
Does the
Then-
Switch have rollback?
No, it unfortunately never got it, but it had an enhanced delay netcode. Temporarily, the best netcode available was on the Switch only. It was better than the PC one before the
Interesting.
real rollback dropped on October 2020.
So
Thanks
all in
to
all,
two
in your
Switch
Guilty Gear
developers.
career, like Kliff is more of a recent addition, but it sounds like you're really liking him.
Oh yeah, so probably since like 2020, I've been like on Kliff.
Mhm.
Took out some notable names, and it's been fun.
Yeah.
Super glad to have you on.
There,
He was my
there's
teacher.
like
Thank you.
early Kliff VODs. It's like Japanese VODs from 2014, and then it's like Hano and Mini Matt.
Oh
Are
yeah,
like the other
jeez.
two.
My mahjong brother.
Miniature Matthew.
Yeah, it was Minimat, and then the reference footage for Hano Rod and Bracket that I would always get sent, and the only piece of like, here's how you learn the Zappa matchup footage, was him hitting KB Nova with Nape Saddle like 300 times.
It's a
I'm
bunch
like-
of it's like old Kliff Zappa is like a bunch of Nape Saddle and a bunch of JD.
Like,
So
yeah.
perfect.
Footsies.
That's what we do.
And
Now
with
you
that-
try and do that and you die.
And with that, why don't we play some Kliff?
Kliff
Oh.
Undersn.
Hell yeah.
Sounds good.
Alright.
I'm curious, Stefan, who was your student?
Oh, Izzy. That was Izzy. If you look at that top 8 VOD, she is the other Kliff that plays with me at the very beginning, I believe. When she was starting with the game, she was playing Potemkin, and we'd hang out in VC every now and then. She's very young, by the way. She's like, extremely young. She's about 17, 18. She was younger when she started the game. And, you know, she started with Potemkin, we'd hang out and we'd play. And I'd play Kliff versus her Pot. And then, like, eventually, over time, she was just like, I'm really tired of Pot's bad matchups. And, like, I don't know, I just started messing with Kliff because he's funny.
I was
And,
gonna
like,
say,
you
how are you
kinda-
gonna say you don't like Pot's bad matchups and then switch to Kliff? How is Kliff the answer there?
Oh, well, Kliff doesn't have to fight Zappa, like, in the same way. Because, like, Pot's worst matchups are, like, Milia, Zappa, I would say, Dizzy. And Kliff does better against basically all of those characters.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I
and-
thought Kliff was pretty bad in Dishonored.
Kind
Depends.
of. So, it used to be. He
Sort
used to be
of.
a lot worse in Dishonored.
Yeah, the Faust matchup was really dire, and then I learned you can dash under, like, 90% of his moves, including the dive kick, fire slash, scalpel pull. You can
So,
crouch under...
Kliff, when he runs, is he at like Faust crouch level or?
Yes.
Yeah.
He is at Faust
Yes.
crawling, not
Yeah,
crouching,
Faust crawling.
crawling.
Wow.
Crawling.
From frame 3.
Yes.
Yeah. So you know what's
when-
crazy?
yeah.
Just like a funny example, D. Like, let's say, like, you know, you're in that situation where, like, you make them block something, like a 5P, and you're like, okay, I really want to dash and throw you. So the other player's like, this idiot, they're totally gonna dash and throw me. I'll check them with a 2P. So if it's Kliff versus Slayer, and then Slayer thinks you're gonna throw him and does a 2P to check you, Kliff 6/6 goes through Slayer's 2P, and then you can FD cancel the recovery and just throw Slayer whenever you're
Yep.
ready. And it's so good. And it works versus Dizzy 2P. It works versus a lot of 2Ps. It's hilarious.
I love how jank this game can get. That's literally that's so cool.
Yeah, and with that knowledge, right, like you can crouch under Faust jab, like it just doesn't hit you crouching. Soul JH does not hit you crouching. There's so much.
Oh yeah, you could tap 2 instead of holding down back the block, or instead of holding
Yeah,
back,
just
just
press
tap down. There's a lot of Kliff knowledge. How
Yeah,
to be
that's
sure.
really the big change with this character, and Izzy was kind of learning the game in the middle of that period of change, where she was like learning Pot, and then we were discovering so much about like Kliff, right, at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, she was like, well, I guess I don't want to play Pot Zappa ever again in my life. This matchup is annoying. I don't want to play Pot Faust. I don't want to play Pot Dizzy. And so she was like, I'm just messing with Kliff. And then it kind of, she would just hop in VC, play a little bit of Pot, and then start playing Kliff more and more and more until eventually she just like switched to the character full time. And she was like, yeah, I gotta be real with you. This character is like fucked up. And I'm like, yeah, I know. What have you been playing him? And so ever since then, I've been kind of teaching her. And although it is really funny, I've been teaching her this much, but I would say she ended up playing more like Hano than me.
Really? How did that almost happen?
I tried really hard to not let that happen because every Kliff ends up playing. I don't want to be mean, but they're kind of boring. and like the character supports it, and like Loki, you probably should be playing that way, honestly. But like, come on.
You can't be calling all the Kliffs gorillas. Come on.
I think that's good because it kind of leads into what I was going to ask, where it's like, is there like a distinct enough depth to the character that you could easily identify, like, oh, that's like Hano on Kliff, or that's like someone else.
Oh,
a
yes.
lot of expression that
Absolutely. Yeah, so I think as far as like the expression part goes, the most distinct playstyle for this character is probably me. Because like every Kliff player will hit a crossroads where you either decide you start like learning a lot about the character and you start getting really aggressive with like your offense, and either you make that work, or you switch off of that play style to something that's a lot more consistent and like down to earth.
Yeah, I was
Or
gonna
you
say,
drop the
is
character
defense something you
entirely.
have to hone when you're playing Kliff, or is it just you want to spec really hard into offense and just rushing down because there is no point to playing defense?
So defense with Kliff is weird, because like every character, system mechanics wise, you have access to FD, you have access to slashback and like IB, and Kliff you really don't want to FD as much because you want that meter for other things. So you end up getting really good at like finding spots to mash, or like IBing to get throws, or like IBing into dodge so that you can like chop your way out, that kind of stuff. But like as far as like that piece goes, I think every like strong Kliff player has, like, if you're going to be good at Kliff, you're either going to have really strong active defense, or you're going to be like one of the most patient people on the planet. So like a good example being like for active defense being, I think everybody in here is pretty active on defense. I think a good example of just staying patient and finding like a safe spot to get out is a local to me. His name is G-Dom.
Oh, G-Dom is pretty good, yeah.
He's a blocker. He's 100% a down backer.
He plays Kliff too honest.
He does. He does.
What is an honest Kliff?
Presses far slash.
Presses the far slash real good.
The fool's button.
Let me,
But he's good. Like, he's really good. Like,
yeah, his neutral is amazing.
He's taking out
he's really
players.
patient. He's just kind of falls to getting reward dipped at times. But
here we go.
no. So as far as like the play styles go, every Kliff hits this wall, in their progression where, being aggro is not working as much anymore because people know what you're doing.
Yeah.
So you either find ways to work around that, or you start playing like more solid, and I put that in quotes because, like, you know, what does solid really mean? Or you just drop the character entirely and you go somewhere else, because like at that point, if what you are playing Kliff for is to press a lot of buttons and it's not working anymore and you don't want to put in the work to keep doing that, why would you keep doing it? So Hano, T5, Izzy, G-Dom, every other Kliff has so far, in my time playing the character, as far as people who pick up the character, they've all spec'd into playing more solid, and I didn't. I kept finding ways to
More disrespectful.
and I kept looking for ways to like loop offense and to get like safe mix and just put people in like the worst situations possible. So there's like a lot of tech that I've found that suits my playstyle more than anybody else. So nobody really uses it except for me because it doesn't come up as much for other people. So that yeah, like you can, I think you can tell during like the first 5 seconds of a round if I'm playing or not. Whereas everybody else, it might take a little bit longer.
At most, it takes people one game for me. I
Yeah.
don't know what it is. I really don't. It might be the combos. It might be like.
Well, you kind of clip somebody with like JS and then they still die. It's
Yeah.
just like it's like the conversions. I think at a high level, most Kliffs have like pretty great conversions because you have to for this character for him to like really work. Because like Kliff is very strong, but I think personally like if you don't have those combos and conversions down, you're just kind of representing a threat that's not there. It's like having a loaded gun. It's like having a loaded gun with the safety on.
Yeah.
And not knowing how to turn the safety off.
You can hold a gun and present the threat of a gun, but if you're just gonna throw it, then you don't really have a gun.
Yeah, like it's not. But yeah. So like I've seen a lot of Kliff players kind of come and go. I think we all have.
Oh yeah.
Because most people, Kliff does a very good job of like propelling you to a mid level. Because he will win you games. I will say that he like the Kliff character itself will win you games. But like he won't win you sets. He won't get you into top 8s. Like once you hit that wall, there's a significant amount of work that you have to put in, especially if you weren't already a good fighting game player before, because he gets you to that wall really fast.
I guess a good question would be then for you three, like, if he really does feel like you can get to that mid-level and then you start stagnating a bit, what makes you stick with this character? Why'd you pick Kliff out of everyone on this roster?
I think it was the only one I was having fun with. I feel like of these three here, I am the most qualified to speak on this specific topic.
Fun.
Like the mid-level wall. So
that's annoying.
my game time is, and Hano can tell you, I've played Kliff for quite a long time. My hour count is extremely high. I want to say about 1,000 of those were me getting stuck at the point of this game where I understand what I need to do. I understand what this character does. How the fuck do I do anything against somebody that knows what I'm doing?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the hard part.
And
It's the constant FGC problem where it's like, hey, I think I hit my personal wall and there's no going up for me. What do I do? I don't know what to improve at specifically. And that's where you start have to getting into like, okay, how do I properly mix up my options? Where do I...
Right, and like, so one of the big things at that point was not even just the options, because I was finding hits. It was just like, how do I make my conversions really matter?
Yeah.
Because for the longest time, what Kliff had in terms of like optimizations, damage, conversions was a lot of very good high meter options. And basically that's it. Like at that point in my time playing, stun was like you would get an incidental really good NCR, or you would spend 50 meter to FB chop. 6P routing wasn't really at all explored as much. And like you would only see it come up in the Kliff mirror when you fought Jake on like 200 ping. Who's a Japanese Kliff player, very good. He's the reason I even looked into it, on top of something Caleb was labbing. Both of those things came together to me wanting to look into this more. But for the longest time at that point, it was like, how do I like make my hits in the middle of the round really count? And I spent so goddamn long. But at that point, I was like, I've already gone through 2 other characters. If I don't stick with this one, I just don't want to play the game. But I clearly want to play the game.
Yeah.
Right. You always keep coming back to it.
And so that compelled me to start discovering combo optimizations and really looking into why, 6P matters. And so I guess I could explain this about that wall, right? It's just...
It's really rough.
It is. Mid-level Kliff, I think, is the worst experience of the character. I've always said this. That dip down, where at beginner level this character is great, and at high level and top level this character is
great.
Too.
Yeah.
But in the middle, you feel like you are playing the worst character ever created, because that's the point in the game where you don't have conversions, or at least not the ones you really need.
Right, the ones that
But
matter.
everybody else's table scraps just ruin you.
Yeah, like you know just enough to feel the weakness of the character, but not how to counterbalance that. So it's just like,
Yes.
Yeah. Right. But the good part is, at least, that Kliff, at least when you do get your chances, it really does hurt the opponent. Like, if you play a character like Chip, that's really mobile, but has a low stun, low relative HP, like, you still have to get, like, quite a few hits, you know, to actually make it work. You know, you need, like, good momentum and good mentality to make that comeback. With Kliff, you need, like, 1 to 2 good chances. But yeah, it's still hard, though.
Yeah, I definitely was stuck there for quite some time. I probably, because I have, how many hours in this game do I have? Probably about 2,200 on my computer, and then like obviously locals and other people's computers, because I tried really hard to get people into it at like my university, but by the time I like transferred over, I was already quite good at the game, so people would get sad. So I just kept, I kept learning a whole bunch of new characters. I know like I know over half the roster because I kept trying to like find new characters to learn so that people would play with me.
That's just really good to have like base knowledge though for matchups at least.
Yeah, I mean I have that knowledge because of like commentary and stuff like that. But yeah, I spent probably. My goal really was just to be able to win locals. I was like fine being able to like do okay online and like win sets online. That was like whatever. I just wanted to win locals. Too bad for me that I live in the great state of North Carolina, with like one of the strongest local scenes in the country. I think it's probably like North Carolina and New York are probably the two strongest right now. And
really check out my locals in New York then. I had no idea Plus R was big there.
Yeah, so I think it's been the way that people and like the way I also describe it is that it is harder in New York to get into like a top 8 than it, like if everybody shows up and for like a New York local, which doesn't happen super often, but if everybody shows up, it's harder to get into a top 8 in New York than it is in North Carolina, but it's harder to get a top 3 in North Carolina than it is in New York. So like I started playing the game, and it was one of my first fighting games. I played Strive for probably a month or 2, and then a friend gifted me this, and so then I played this and Strive at the same time because Testament released right around the time I started playing this, and I was like, I really like Testament. I'm gonna keep trying this out, and then eventually I was like, this game kind of sucks. I don't want to play this anymore.
Yeah.
Like it was probably right after the start of Season 2. So like I thugged it out against Release Chaos, like I did all that, and then Season 2 dropped, and I was like, I don't want to play this
isn't gonna change, is it?
So, I would drive. There would be a local in Charlotte, which I live about 30-40 minutes away from, and maybe 4 people would show up for that. One of the strongest players in the state would show up for that though, which was a pot player. But if I wanted to like actually like really try and cut my teeth and see what the actual strength of the state was, I'd have to go to Raleigh, which is like a 3-hour drive. So I'd drive 3 hours to go 0-2, 1-2, and I did that for 7-8 months. You know,
you are so much stronger than me. I wish I between work and everything, I wish I had the energy to go travel 3 hours from my locals.
I would go. Okay, so at the time I had work. I was working 30-ish hours a week, and then I was doing full-time school, and then I had and then I would like find time for my girlfriend and all of this, and then I was also going to church like twice a week with her. So these locals would be on Sundays, and Plus R would start at 2. And so
showing up there in a fucking full-on suit.
I would show up. I would show up to locals.
Babe, hold on. I gotta show up to work, and you're going right to the cab.
I straight up, I would have to explain it. I had to explain. Like when I first started getting into it, she was like, assumed that it was just something that I was like kind of into in passing, but it wouldn't be anything really crazy. And that was, God, 4 years ago. The fighting games outlasted her at this point. Like it was 4 years ago. but no, I would tell her, I'd be like, hey, I'm going to leave early today. There's a local in Raleigh. Well, I'm not gonna leave early. I'm gonna leave as soon as it's over. I'm gonna get in the car, because I'd be in Charlotte for services, so it'd cut about 30 minutes off. So I could leave at 12 and still reasonably get there in time. So I would drive, and I would speed to get there.
The admission of guilt. Hopefully, the statute of limitations is run out on that.
Like, I think the actual time to get there would be about 2 hours on the GPS. It'd be an hour 40 to get there, so I could have at least 10-15 minutes to warm up. But I would leave early. I'd get there in my church clothes, and I would play out bracket for, and I'd go 0-2, 1-2. And like, eventually I did 2 and 2. It took a really long time, actually, for me to do anything better than like 2 and 2. I think it took.
Oh my god! Sorry, I'm just getting. Kliff was happening in the corner. Continue.
Oh yeah. I can explain the mechanics of that once we're done this part of the whole thing.
Yeah.
Keep going, Caleb.
But I've talked to a lot of people. I've talked to a lot of people about because everybody who's new to fighting games, or everybody who's not that great, has like their whole like, I put so much time into this, I'm not doing very well, and I just pull up my bracket results for about a year, from the time I started all the way up into my first big result that I would classify as big probably came maybe a year in, probably the beginning of 2023. It was after Frosty, and it was this online bracket I got second in, and then it was the regional that I got fifth in. And that kind of growth sort of seemed to happen overnight, because I was doing like,
once you get your first big win, then it's like your mentality shifts, and it's like, it's easier to
actually. It is kind of like that. But I was like a fringe top 8er. I'd maybe get like 5th in these online brackets, and then I had these 2 really big wins, and then it's like pretty consistently top 3 in online brackets, pretty consistently top 3 at locals. But I still hadn't won a local at this point, because by the time
that shows
that
you
I
how strong
started,
that local is, damn.
So funny thing that happened, I start going to locals. And around the same time that I start going to locals, a new player moves to the state. His name is Giga, and people who play the game are aware of him. He got 4th at Combo Breaker this last go around on Jam. But when he moved here, he was an Eno player, and then he was an Anji player. Now he's a Jam player. And so this entire time, I'm like, all right, well, this is the new guy. Well, that wasn't even the guy that I was chasing, because I was still trying to get into top 3s, top 4s. So eventually, I start getting into these like to like losers finals grands, and I start winning. I don't start winning, but I start getting there. I'm getting there, and then, right around the time where I'm really making some good headway, I can probably win one of these soon enough. There was a Shadow World that happened, and lo and behold, Shadow World was a series of tournaments in Raleigh. But lo and behold, one player happened to be in the state for his birthday, and he was in Charlotte. That player is ex-Phantom, and so I was like, hey, you should come out to this, like, you know, strong house player, I really want to play you, that kind of stuff. I did it out of my own greed, and I was like, you should come to this local, it's in the state, I know you play the game, there's probably not that much going on in Georgia. So he comes by and he plays, and so we're talking a little bit, and he's like, you know, I didn't know there was a scene in North Carolina, and I just had the opportunity to move back to North Carolina, so I think I'm gonna do it. And so he moves back, and so now I have the strongest player in North America, and then like one of the strongest players in North America that I have to get over to win locals.
That sounds like genuinely a magical experience for your local experience.
You really like found the way to put the weighted training weights on yourself.
And so my first local win actually didn't happen until earlier this year. I think it was maybe April of this year.
Yeah, you DM me.
It was my first win. It was my first local win. and that was yeah, I've won 2 since then, but they weren't as big. Like everybody wasn't there for the other 2 that I won, but everybody was there for the one in April that I won. And since then, I've pretty consistently placed second at every local, except for this last one, which I got 3rd. It's been a long road. I'll win eventually.
I believe.
I shifted my focus to Melty Blood.
with that caliber of person at your local, like second is extremely respectable.
Yeah. I get close. I'll like reset bracket, or I'll send him to losers every once in a while, but I just can't really close it out. But
I only have one bracket result formally. That would be 4th at Frosty Fausting's 2024 earlier this year.
Which again, also not bad.
No, that's probably my last bracket too. I'm not a tournaments guy, funny enough. Despite everything,
not everyone needs to be.
I'm just like, yeah, I'm not really like a super big tournaments grinder. My
That's
goal.
kind of crazy though to be like, I'm not really big for tournaments, and then you walk in and get 4th though. That's...
Well, yeah, I mean, my goal. The reason I entered was just people. Well, people kept bugging me to enter because they were like, well, look, in 2023, Kadako came to North America and freed up the entire nation. But then, in 2023, at all the side events and all the casuals, what ended up happening is that Hano and I would play Kadako, and we both beat him. Like, pretty handily, too. Like, I would say that at the time in 2023, he knew less than he did in 2024. And everybody that was watching was like, dude, why didn't you enter? Like, why didn't you enter 2023? And the reason was not because I didn't want to, it's because I didn't know if I could make the trip until registration had already closed.
Yeah.
So I just went to play.
It was so cool you were able to show up at all and get some cool, like, casuals in.
Yeah, they're like, dude, why didn't you enter? And I'm like, oh, I don't know. And then people kept asking me to enter. So like, fine, I'll enter in 2024. And so I did. And lo and behold, I got, like, knocked into losers, because I still maintain that I think Frosty's 2024 is the most stacked NA bracket of all time.
I was gonna say, recently I've heard some slight drama, I guess, with Frosty's 2025+R, where it maxed out cap brackets again. The scene is huge. Oh, Combo Breaker, sorry. And people are asking, like, dude, why is this not a main game? What is going on? And it's a bit sad, like, yeah, like, the scene is really thriving huge and competitive, but, maybe one year.
I got an answer from Rick, Mr. Evo himself. I did get an answer. I don't know if he name searched his Combo Breaker or something, because I don't know how he found that post. But he mentioned, he was like, it's a really important to Frosty that they run all 3 gears, and we don't want to step on their toes as like a neighbor for them. And I was like, I understand. I
the same situation
understand.
has been happening with Central Fiction as well, right? Where it's like they're maxing out their brackets.
They had 155 last year, and they got snubbed. So I don't really want to talk too much about it because I don't run majors and I don't make those decisions. But like, you know, ST is a main game, and like, I don't know.
So is it all just like we don't want to step on what Frosty Fausting is, where it's the celebration of gear, and CB is also just focusing on Strive? Because that's a little sad, if anything.
Well,
like...
so Combo Breaker has the other 2 gears. They have Exerd and Strive. They just don't have +R, and so now +R as a side game has.
It's weird to me. Is it crazy for me to say I'm pretty sure +R is bigger than Exerd? Like scene-wise?
So Exerd gets a lot more people to sign up. I would say the online scene for +R is probably more active.
Yeah.
But offline, Exerd gets more entrants. Pretty
more
consistent.
people show up for Exerd. Yeah.
Yes. So like +R seems bigger because you see it more in online circles, but Exerd definitely gets more like numbers wise.
Regardless, I still think it's incredible that Gear is a series that when people like a game, they stick with that game. Like, I've never seen, like, every entry of the series have an active player base quite like this. Like, even with Street Fighter, like, I guess you can find some SF2 brackets, some alphas, some 3S, but, like, you're not seeing people, like, play SF4 and SF5 exactly.
No, yeah, SF5 not having, like, a scene afterwards, despite how different it is from 6 and how much people claim that they really enjoy that final patch, is kind of funny to me. I think it's an okay game. I like Gil, so
Yeah.
But yeah, so I pull up to 2024's Crusades and I enter, and again, most stacked bracket of all time, I would say, even compared to this year's Crusades coming up from what I saw the entrance list.
Who
And
ended up
a
winning
majority of the reason that is just the timing, because Crusades is the same weekend as Magfest this year,
Oh yeah.
which does cut into people coming in. And it's just 2024 was kind of a poopy year, to be honest. After January, it's not really gotten better.
Yeah.
But yeah, I get into that bracket and I immediately go into losers in top 48 because I fight KB Nova, and funny enough, I
hate Zappa.
no, okay, now
Is that a seeding issue or is that just a Zappa issue?
5-5 matchup. To be clear, the reason I lost was because I made a combo routing error, which really
that
sucks
happens.
because the decision wasn't incorrect. What had happened was that I threw him in the corner and I had 75 meter, and I didn't dash far enough for the force break chop to connect properly, so it just whiffed because his ground slide box is like a little far in. And that cost me that last game because it was about to be 1-1 at that point in the set, and then I probably could have done game 3 if I played well enough. So then I'm knocked into losers, and my path is pretty thorny. I go through many good players, Summer Breeze, very good Venom, G-Dom, aforementioned Kliff player. And then, lo and behold, the person that people wanted to see me fight in bracket for my entrance match into top 8, there he was, Kadako, right there. It was Jacob Pett, the guy who won the bracket, just knocked him into losers. And there he was, my entryway into top 8, Kadako.
With the run
So
back
I'm
of
like,
your casuals from a year ago.
Yep. And I lose the first game. This isn't great. But it was not by a lot. So I was like, all right, I don't know if they got the player cams, but I looked back at the crowd and gave a thumbs up. And then I proceeded to win the next 2 games.
Woo!
Yeah.
I am in the sizzle reel. If you look at the Friday summary video, I am in that video. Because apparently the crowd screamed so loud they heard the pop-off on like one of the Blaze Blue streams. In the back through the commentary mic.
Oh yeah.
No, it
That's
was
so
loud enough
cool.
that event staff interviewed me. They're like, what the hell is that? Because like when I beat Kadako, we fist bumped and I was about to shake his hand, right? Because he motioned his hand to shake my hand. And then I immediately got like mogged by like 7 people in the crowd. Because a bunch of
They all
people
came
just
swarming
rushed
up.
the stage. And I'm like, oh god. I'm shaking like a freaking stack of jello because I'm like, this is the first time I've entered a bracket offline ever, and I'm on like a big stage playing on like a sound setup.
Did you
And
end up
suddenly
getting
I
like
win and it's
uncomfortable,
okay.
or did like eventually
Oh,
you start
no, not
leaning into it and be like
uncomfortable, not
happy?
Yeah, I was happy, but I was just like really like shaky, right? Like, 'cause
Yeah,
it's like,
yeah.
whoa, that's a lot to process. But that was my like experience in tournaments. And Hano, who is muted right now, but I'm sure he'll unmute in a minute.
Yeah.
He's had a really diverse run in this game too.
Yeah, Hana, what has your tournament experience been like? Have you ever been mocked on the stage?
Oh, he'll be back in a minute, I'm sure. He's got some funny stories. He wasn't always a Kliff player though, so not all of this is tantamount to Kliff.
Yeah.
But
T5, earlier you were saying that you had some Kliff tech in the corner that you wanted to bring up. Do you still remember what that was?
Kliff Tech, which one? But, like, do you remember like the wording specifically? Because there's a lot.
I do not remember. I just remember that I was in the corner and I was like, damn, I'm getting cliffed the fuck right now. And you were like, oh, I got something to say about that.
Oh,
It's
well, the
unrelated.
reason-
I do have something that, like, I think the fact that Kliff uses his taunt in combos is kind of really cool.
Yeah, no.
Oh yes. So taunt Oki, I guess you could say. So when he knocks you down and he does taunt, you'll notice like those 4 letters come out.
Yeah.
And those basically set up all kinds of mix-ups, from unreactable overheads to, you know, F-shikis, which are fuzzies if you've seen them in other games, where,
Yes.
yeah, you're stand blocking and then you reuse your standing hurt blocks while crouch blocking, and yada yada, because he does that with jumping kick. He goes up and it hits you and yada yada. But the taunt also has like a ton of uses in combos, as you said, if you want to extend hits after the ground slide. Crank gravity, do all sorts of stuff with it. Interrupt other people's combos. If you get taunt out in neutral and they don't hit you fast enough, the letters will be active, and they don't go away when Kliff gets hit, which is really important. So like if somebody hits you out of a taunt Okazemi setup and you burst them, sometimes you can burst them back into the letters. You can combo off of that.
Sorry, I just realized you can probably make some kind of joke where it's like, fellas, if your girl has a disc, is doing disc oki, has blonde hair, that is not your girl. That's not Milia Rage. That is Kliff Undersn.
Oh yes. So that P fireball move is really great. So that little small egg that he shoots there, people call it the small egg. That move is +3 on block if you don't space it. Like if it hits on the very first frame it can, if you don't instant block it, it is +3.
That was
Now I should note that spacing never comes up because that is like directly next to him. So you're almost never doing that move point blank like that. So in reality,
so wait, there actually is a dead zone?
No. It's just
actually, there is a dead zone if they're still getting up. Sometimes if you do it too close and they're like waking up, it can go through them, but that's very rare.
Yeah, usually the spacing you're at where it hits is when it's about +6, +7-ish.
Yeah, or more, or more.
Yeah, it's in the middle. And the basic gist of it is that it's active for about 27 frames.
Yes.
So when you plop it out on their wake up, you can space it outside of the range of reversals, mashing, basically anything. They can't backdash because it will catch their backdash. It's 27 frames active. It is a level 5 projectile, so if it counter hits, you have a million years to confirm it.
Oh yeah, you could do drill, you could do sweep, anything. Counter hit.
And it has a very good FRC that lets you make it +30 if it hits on the first frame.
Plus 30, right, you can do whatever you want after that.
Oh my god.
Yes! The counterplay to this move is to jump out after you instant block a button beforehand, but if Kliff decides to FRC it, he can punish the jump, or he can just not cancel into it, and then you're jumping at Kliff, who has very good anti-airs.
I see now why you linked that post talking about how Kliff being dead is the best thing that's happened for Guilty.
Oh yeah, I've been filling up this. I've been filling up this whole chat, like the little chat section of our stream, with like Kliff gifs and like Kliff quotes.
Yeah.
I'll definitely be putting some of them up.
Yeah, that is a real war crime.
Yeah.
Like he has to earn it, but
what does Sajam know about video games if he doesn't like Kliff? Come on.
True.
He's just mad because it's soul but better. I am the better Shoto.
Oh god, I guess he is a Shoto, huh?
He's a forbidden Shoto, like a instead of Kuma, he's old Kuma.
He's fucking chained up at the bottom of a dark well. He's got fucking evil energy emanating.
Yeah, like what's so cool about Kliff is that in the lore he's actually like quite a powerful character too. Like naturally speaking, as far as like humans in the Guilty Gear universe go, I think he actually scales favorably to like some of the strongest characters in the franchise. Not that I want to get into Guilty Gear power scaling, because I cannot.
In terms of Guilty Gear power scaling, it's that Kliff is the strongest human that's ever lived. It's just, unfortunately, he's 88 years old now, so he's not quite all the way there, but he's still got what is left.
Yeah, still nothing to take, you know. Like...
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, very, very famously, if we want to just get a quick lore recap for those who don't know, because this is not a character that has appeared in many other games. Famously fought Justice to a standstill 17 times and survived, and then also single-handedly fought a Megadeth class gear that was sacking Britain over the course of 7 days and 7 nights and killed it.
I like the idea of that he just did not sleep.
Yeah, he was fighting for. It's like y'all ever play Library of Ruinos on some shit like that.
Yeah.
What's actually cool happened to the lore though? What's really cool if you're like a lore geek, all of Kliff's moves they look super goofy, and you're like, oh, like what's this stupid like old man who thinks he's acrobatic doing? But if you look at the names of the moves, and all the moves are all dragon fighting and dragon inspired. Like even his little goofy wiggle 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 move where he like shakes the sword and anti-airs you, it's called Scale Ripper. Like you're shaving the scales off of a big fish or dragon. And then
his sword is like the tooth of a dragon that he's still like he's killed, and it's like, oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, or like his little drop down dive kick is called Limb Sever. Like he's coming down like on the like finger or like arm of like a dragon and like chopping it off from above. Like it's super cool.
Yeah.
So
And all of his moves are kind of similar to things that Kai and Soul do if you switch.
Yeah, I was gonna
Yes,
say, like, he's
yeah.
the teacher of Kai and Soul for their particular fighting styles, and it's crazy because I feel like Kai doesn't, like, it's more on the books, of course, because of the basis of design for these games. But Kliff is just so disrespectful with his giant fucking sword hitting you and stunning you.
yeah, exactly.
I kind of like, too, that Kliff is... Guilty Gear's always been a series about subversions in some way, because, like, oh, you've got Soul Bad Guy, who is this insane mid-range rushdown character who explodes you with fire and, you know, ToDing, like, the stuff with you like that, but he's actually, oh, he's a brilliant scientist, he just acts like a gorilla kind of thing. And for Kliff, it's that he's a walking, talking berserk reference, but he's just kind of, he's old, and, like, a little more on, like, the joke angle side of things.
Yeah,
like
no,
taking the piss out of like, oh, how like turbo serious Berserk can be. I think.
Yeah. I think there's a lot I think really that could be said about Kliff's lore and his character that I think they injected so much subtle sauce into. Even though he doesn't have like so much on him, I think what is there is very polished and very charming and very fun if you're willing to dig into it. Like you know, we were just mentioning the fact that like a lot of his moves look goofy, but they're also clearly designed or like based on the movements of dragons. The other thing that the goofiness is coming from, and I think this is documented on the wiki as well, is that they're like direct references to manzai comedy routines from Japan, where it's
wait,
like, you
really?
know,
Yeah.
funny man. Yeah, the funny man and the straight man. So that's why.
Oh my
some of
god,
his
wait.
moves look like he's bonking somebody on the head, or he's making like a particularly funny pose.
yeah, like his quotes like "Bakamon" and "Tawake." Yeah, those are all like insults, like you dumbass, you idiot, kind of thing.
Yeah,
That
classic
never ever
manzai
clicked
comedy.
for me, but now looking at his faces and how he's like always doing the ha kind of stuff, that makes complete sense. That's so cute.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
it is really, really cute.
It's
Like-
in the same way that Faust is kind of too, where Faust is the whole comedy routine of like being the wacky man that's like fingers up your ass kind of thing. I forget what the name of that specific Japanese comedy routine is.
Kancho.
Yeah, Kancho.
Yeah, and in Korean I think it's called dongchi. Don't ask why I know that. Oh, yeah, it's a Eastern Asian thing for sure. I don't know if it's really different. Gotta ask me.
Yeah, like Kliff, despite being like relatively simple, I think he is one of the original Guilty Gear designs. So in a lot of ways, he still represents a lot of like what Guilty Gear is to me, which is that like he's got a lot of like cool and interesting shit kind of baked in like that. And I especially like that his design is very plain. Like he looks like an NPC in like
Yes.
a Scrolls game.
He's got extremely like basic colors, like the browns. Like he's just like a working everyman. He's got like the apron on as well. It's like it's a knight's uniform.
Yeah,
And I like the
very
subversion
simple.
that it's that he's just extremely tiny and he's wielding a giant butter knife.
Yeah, no, like what happens is that you see his clothing, you're like, this is pretty normal, and then like your eyes are drawn immediately to the thing he's holding, and you're like, oh, I get what they were doing with the design now. This makes sense.
Much too large to be called a sword. It was a hunk of
Is he so short? I had someone in the Guilty Gear community call him the odd job of Plus-R.
Oh,
He
yeah.
really is though. If you
Yeah.
get 6'6" under a lot of people's like regular fucking punches, that definitely qualifies him as an odd job.
I
Yeah, he
just
can
remember like
dash.
no, you know, people saying.
He can dash under Anji's instant kill.
Wow.
That's so funny.
I'm gonna run and what are you gonna do about it? And before we move off of lore, I just also really wanted to mention a few other things. The fact that I think when Daisuke was conceptualizing Kliff, to me he reads as his idealized version of like an older man, and I think you see this a lot with how he writes Soul now. Where it's like he is this old ass mentor. Yeah, he's a father. He's this old ass mentor hobbyist who just kind of like likes pursuing his weirdo interests. Because in doing so, you know, once he retired from the Holy Order, he became the only non-Japanese person, with the exception of the Guilty characters that I'm sure.
Yeah.
It's Daisuke's
to be
favorite
able to
thing of
use
being
ki.
that Daisuke is obsessed with white guys using Japanese powers, like
yeah.
like he specifically wrote like only Japanese people are able to use these powers because they're really powerful and strong. And then it's like here's Chip, here's Kliff,
And Chip,
you know?
and Chip.
Kliff is just built different enough that he like spent all his time researching ki because he thought it was cool, and now he can do it. Like it's so incredible. It's very charming. And then there's also elements of drama in his character too. I would say like debatedly he's one of the more important characters in early Guilty Gear lore, not just because obviously he's doing cool shit, which is awesome, but also because you have that element of his direct connection with the conflict between Justice and Testament, obviously.
Yeah, exactly.
And they do a really great job, and I think this is also one of the strengths of Daisuke's writing in general, that it's like he's this very goofy, funny character, but like even without him having a lot of lines of dialogue, you really feel the emotional depth in him just through the way other characters interact with him. Like
I was gonna say, I've never
famously-
played a game in the first game of the series, Missing Link, right? I've never played a series before where multiple characters get to the end of a run or end of the story and they just die. Like Zato dies at the end of the first game in the series. Kliff dies at the end of the first game of the series. Justice dies. It's kind of crazy.
And there's so much of this really cool implied history, I think, that speaks to how much Daisuke loves all of these characters that you don't get to see in the game itself. Like, you just get to the end of Kliff's story, and he's forced to kill his own child, and then Testament is like, smile, Dad. Like, that's crazy. That's really, really crazy. Where it's just like, or I really like the line that he has where he's talking to Justice, and it's like, he almost feels a level of kinship with her where it's like we're both relics of a bygone era now, you know, the world has no need for people like us. It feels very much like spoilers for an old game, but the end of Metal Gear Solid 4 when Snake is at the grave and he's like, oh, you know, the world never needed snakes. Some stuff like that where it's just like, you know, you have this very goofy character, but then it also is kind of an examination of what being a veteran does to you, because he cites multiple times he was like a volunteer in the Crusades, which I feel like is very rare. You know, you would think like a cataclysmic level event like the Crusades, it would just be like whoever can fight, like you're going to, know whether you want to or not. But I think
Jay, if I'm a basic guy and all I've got is like my stick and maybe a shield, and I'm just walking around living in like the remnants of Europe, and I see a Gundam shooting nukes, I don't think my first thought is, let me go fight that thing.
No, exactly. That's what I'm saying. It's very powerful that they use that verbiage and that he references it very often, that he is volunteering to fight in the Crusades. Like, he decided to do this. And then, you know, without it, he has felt like his life is a little bit empty, but he finds that that heartfulness and that emotional fulfillment through being a mentor to Soul and Kai, and then also a father to Testament. So then
also through tea tables as well.
Yes.
Yeah, and I have to admit, like, I really do like the wording they use with Kliff throughout the lore, because like they really want to emphasize this person is like a distinctly good human being.
Yes.
Like, it's enough to the point where you look at Testament's likes and dislikes back before the Strive, you know, redesign and story update.
Yeah.
And it's like dislikes humanity, but they still have Kliff, and they're like,
which is really sweet.
And
not only that. Oh, go ahead.
No,
go on.
No, I was just gonna say, not only that, like their reactions, like some characters, even in like the old lore, like are really stupid. Like when it comes to Bridget, like they bring up dumb stuff. And then Kliff just sees Bridget fighting, and when Kliff beats Bridget, he's like, I can't believe this world. Children fighting with weapons. What does it come to?
God, that's real as hell.
No, it really is.
It's so funny because it's like Kliff's perspective. He's like, I'm so sad that the children are forced to use weapons.
Yeah.
It's interesting for a series where like every character is defined by their guilt, and Kliff's guilt is that he hasn't ended the war fast enough to stop all these kids from going in and dying. Because like he sees 10-year-old Kai be like, I want to join the Holy Order of Knights, and I want to save the world. And Kliff's like, no, don't. Look, you can't join the Holy Order. Wait 5 years. Yeah, that'll do it. He'll clearly just forget. And then Kai doesn't. And like Testament being like a pacifist, and Kliff adopting them, and them being so obsessed with trying to end the war and things like that, that they join the Holy Order and immediately die. Like, I can feel Kliff feeling guilt for not ending things sooner, and like, despite his best efforts to.
Yeah, and Testament's reaction in this game's story mode to like this like fake clone illusion of Kliff is like that they're being forced to fight. They're like appalled. They're disgusted because like that's something that like they consider, you know, very pure, very precious. Like you don't mess with that image, right? Like that's disgusting. Like fuck you.
I think it's really cute too in Strive. Testament has a lot of voice lines, like when they're about to die, they're like, oh, I'm sorry, father. Like they're constantly calling out to Kliff, like, oh, I'll always remember you. Like they keep his memory alive, which I think is nice. Something I found interesting is that Daisuke not too long ago, someone asked him straight up and they said, hey, are dead characters off the table? Is it possible to get Kliff back in the game? And he was like, yeah, absolutely. As long as it makes sense. And he was like, I'm just interested what he could possibly mean by that. Like, what do you mean Kliff coming back?
Well, we were talking.
Axel.
True.
Oh.
Axel goes back in time and brings in young Kliff, I think would be what I would.
New villain, too strong. Axel goes back and grabs Kliff. There we go.
We need young Kliff. I really do want to
That's
see
fucking
young Kliff
sick.
playable. I think like that is the logical endpoint for them to explore this character further.
We left.
Because I think like they've brought this moveset to be about as complete as it can. I really want to see like that big gap in time because it shows up for the supers.
It just hit me that they took the idea of an old man turning back young into Slayer and Strive because that's what he does now.
Yeah,
wonder
and in a lesser way, Order Soul too.
It's interesting that like, he keeps those ideas alive in some way.
We were talking about before we started recording to the notion of Kliff returning as like one of Zappa's ghosts.
I saw people saying that.
That'd be so
That'd be
tight.
silly.
That'd be so tight.
I think there's a fan art of that where someone drew, like Kliff, like almost like DMC4 style, how like Nero has like the Virgil ghost. They drew it like that, where like Kliff would growl.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember if that was Blue Ribs or someone, but yeah.
Oh my god, that's Melly! Melly is one of my closest friends.
Noted friend of the podcast, we love her. Noted friend of the podcast, and also ruler of the Dark Blade.
I was gonna say too, it's always really silly to me how Kliff's sword looks. Like, why does it look like this specifically? Like the butter knife kind of thing. Or I guess cleaver?
I think it makes more sense when he's older, or well, not when he's older, when he's younger, because it looks normal enough. But I think because it's very clearly a Berserk reference.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's called the Dragon Slayer.
Same name as Guts' sword. Yep.
And you know, Guts' sword is just this giant piece of metal. So I think it's just another giant piece of metal that's like just different enough.
Yeah, because I think they could have made it look like Guts' sword more if they didn't call it the Dragon Slayer, but like I think they knew, they're like, this would probably... Because like American rock references are not out of character for this franchise. I don't think they gave a crap. Like, go look at Chip's portrait in Guilty Gear 1. Tell me that's not just Billy Idol.
I think a lot of fighting games just really like Billy Idol.
Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, I do too. My name on 2M and on Steam for a bit was just Billy Idolmaster for I don't know how long.
I've also been playing a lot of 2M.
Wait. There's a May player that invaded our lobby. We need to get this guy out of here.
How is that even possible? I thought I put a password on it.
They probably hopped in through like, you know, like when your friend is playing a lobby and you can like join through Steam. Yeah, it's Jack Wachter.
No, we're not. Yeah, not the May podcast. Leave.
Not the May podcast. Not today.
You gotta wait a few letters. Yeah, we got Billy Idolmaster versus Quest Love Live.
Yeah, I'll get some games in now that I'm more awake.
But
Here I come. So now you can try and scout the differences between how all three of us play.
Well, recently it's just been that I've been getting exploded, so...
Oh, yeah, that might happen.
Oh, you're doing great.
Kliff Undersn.
Thank you.
Lord.
I was gonna say...
His lore is not super expensive, but it is easy to talk about and digestible.
He has like four
it does
things.
its job.
He does four things. He
One
killed
funny-
the Hydra, fought Justice, died.
Yeah, I think the history of this character as like a playable character beyond like lore is even more interesting.
Oh, he also gave Soul his sword back. That was another thing.
That's huge. Y'all are forgetting the most important Kliff lore. So in the JP bio, it says his dislikes are Hayari Gotaba, or like trending words or like slang. So he would absolutely get mad at you if you like said the Rizzler or like something. Like that. He would just end you. Yeah.
Sorry, Jay completely tainted me with that stupid TikTok shit, and all I can think about now is the Rizzler doing that. What is it? what is it? Mewing?
Oh yeah.
Oh god.
Yeah, he's
The jaw thing?
doing,
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
the Riz face. That's the Riz face.
I can
think have
explain.
to-
We
Cliff
love
would
the Riz
IK you
face.
if Cliff heard any of that. He would IK you. Dragon
Yeah,
pulverizing.
so the
water.
IK that happens there during that combo, there's a specific reason for that. There's a technical reason. So when you're doing 236S FRC into fully charged 6H, you're doing like a rolling your fingers input, right? Because you have to do the FRC and then you have to go to H. And obviously that means you can't FRC with the H button.
Yeah,
And so what happens is if you do it a little too fast,
you get the IK.
you actually get IK activation because you'll hit the input quick enough. So there's a little bit of cleanliness required to the timing. All right, I'm up.
Yeah,
All right.
I'm
Fluffiness.
a little rusty.
No,
was
it's
gonna-
fine. It happened to me the other night, and I was like, oh my god.
I
was
don't
gonna say, like,
piano. I use an FRC macro.
I think out of every character in this game, Kliff might be one of the characters that can probably combo into IK the most because of the stun shit, right?
Jake
Yeah, yeah,
Carson,
yeah.
Baby.
Hold
But
up,
even that though, you can't always rely on. There are a few players, and you'll find out who they are when you fight them a lot. There are a few players who just like mash out like it's nothing. Like they were playing Mario Party 1, they were born in the darkness, they know how to, they're just evil people. So you just have to learn like who your opponent is. Because if you stun someone with Cliff and you notice that they don't mash out at all, because like they want to preserve their hand or they play on pad, you could just charge 6H after the stun all the way. But then if it's a player who's like a little bit better at mashing, you learn like an optimal combo that has like a little bit of charge. And if it's like a player who's an expert at mashing, you just stun them and you hit them right away. You just kind of learn your opponent. That's one of my favorite parts of fighting games, and Cliff really shows that you have different options depending on who you're fighting too.
I was gonna say, so I danced around it a little bit, and I remember reading it on the dust loop, but I just still don't quite understand it myself, and that's the whole stun thing going on with Kliff. That he self-stuns and inflicts the most stun and breaks stun. What is it with the self-stun thing? I noticed that on 6H, I think, or...
Oh, no, okay, so there are two moves that he has, just two, that increase his own stun value.
Correct.
One is the little dodge, which is 2 on 4P. When he leans back, if his back doesn't break, his stun will go up by a certain amount.
Wait,
Right.
is that RNG?
Yes, 100%. It's
Well, no,
a
the
pseudo.
amount it goes
Pseudo
up is fixed. The back breaking is RNG based on his current stun value.
Yes, exactly. The amount of stun that goes up is fixed, correct. But like the chance of it breaking is pseudo RNG.
That is so fucking funny that there is RNG for the old man to hold his back.
Not only that, did you know that there's RNG on his taunt as well?
Wait, really?
Oh, yeah, there's a chance for the fourth character of
The
the taunt to be
The
giant.
Yeah, the can be gigantic. And if it's gigantic, yeah, go ahead, T.
Yeah, it has implications because they programmed it to say Bakamon no matter what side of the screen you're on. So, like, depending
Yeah.
on your facing, you will see, it come out the right way no matter what. But this also means that the is closer to you when facing left.
Yeah. So
and
like
farther
basically,
away when
yeah.
facing right.
It does. It also does more damage. It's a higher attack level. It has higher projectile priority.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
It's
like
really funny.
ordinarily, every taunt letter will get wiped off the face of the earth by like a Justice Nuke or by Secret Garden. But if the big one comes out, it'll just go through it.
Yep.
Really?
The big N says F you, basically.
So you have a like 16% or whatever chance to just
Yeah.
win neutral against Justice
Yeah.
if you taunt.
Yeah.
But the big letter coming out at a different spot also changes like the letter spacing. So there are like notable differences between left facing and right facing Kliff.
Yeah. So we're thinking that P1 Kliff and P2 Kliff actually have like super minor like differences for like Oki or like certain combos depending on the spacing and depending on which taunt you get.
Well,
So,
no, I wouldn't
like,
say
would
P1.
you
I
say
want to
that-
say it's
Or not P1, but P1 facing and P2
Yeah,
facing.
yeah, left
So
and
because
right
the
facing.
bigger letter has a higher chance of what is it? Like getting a stronger combo on the left side, you said? So P2 is a better Kliff than P1?
kind of. So the way it
So-
works out is that like the letters get spaced out a little differently. So when you're facing the right, the taunt Oki setups that you do most commonly have no gaps in block screen. Have no gaps. And what
Nice.
happens there is that means that characters of reversal, like a DP, like Volcanic Viper, are
Yes.
easier to pressure with that taunt formation. Whereas when you're facing leftward, you have there's a small gap. It's very small between the third and the fourth letters.
Right.
And what happens there is that they can't jump out but they can attempt a reversal. So if they don't have like a good DP or reversal, they can't jump out anyway, so they're holding extra
just have to
pressure and
hold
it's
it.
more advantageous.
Yeah.
So there's like a section of matchups where left-facing corner taunt Oki is better, and there's a section of matchups where right-facing corner taunt Oki
Yep.
is better.
That's
Exactly.
so cool. I kind of really like the idea that you have different combo routings if you want them on the left wall or the right wall. That's so sick.
Yeah, it changes a lot. Which is why I have to make that parody video like that one left cloud, right cloud smash video.
I remember that. It's been years.
Yeah. What's funny is this isn't even the biggest jank of the game. Like, we're not going to talk about player 1 ABBA.
Oh,
Yeah.
Wait, I don't know player 1 Alba. What's that?
so if Abba puts into Moroha mode, on player 1 side only, it has to be the player
Yes.
1 character. It cannot
Yes.
be player 2 Abba. If she is hit by a projectile and then gets thrown right after without getting hit by anything else, she will take self damage and the damage of the throw at the same time.
Exactly. So if ABBA is player 1
Just weaker?
and she gets hit by a projectile, well, not really weaker, it's the exact same character, but if she specifically gets hit by a projectile and then immediately grabbed without getting touched by a melee move, she's going to take a lot of damage. So if Pot busters her, she'll not only take like pretty much double damage, but she'll lose the Moroha bar twice. It'll go down 1/3 and 1/3 again. And then that's not only is that funny, but it's happened in tournament. Like there's an old clip of I think Omega
It's
Tom Hanks
practical.
versus Skeletal. He does a burst. A burst counts as a projectile. And then I think Skeletal or whoever the ABBA was did a Danzai. The Danzai and the Gold Burst collide. The Danzai keeps going because it's armor, but the Gold Burst fills up the Potemkin's meter. Pot lands, and in between Danzai hit 1 and Danzai hit 2, Pot does the command grab, and then you just see the ABBA's life just go down like more than half. It's insane.
Yeah, you can also do it with Gigantor, which is
Yeah.
the little lightning shield. So at any point,
Yep,
if Pot
that's a
confirms
projectile.
into Gigantor, like we counter hit 2S into Gigantor against Moroha Abba,
Yep,
and then
yep.
do Pot Buster, you'll get
The same thing.
extremely increased damage for player 1 side Abba.
Or let's say like Abba's like I'm gonna pressure you. I'm gonna do my no gap block string into Goku Moroha, and let's say like Potemkin for some reason got out and like did a flick on the Goku itself. That's a projectile super. You could flick that into a Pot Buster, and then that would also
Fucking
trigger
Christ,
the
and then
glitch.
that triggers the double damage, and then that's so
Yeah.
mean.
And the funnier thing is it's not Potemkin specific. Everyone gets a damage increase even off normal throws. Like Kliff's normal throw will do more damage if he does like a 2-3-6P and then grabs Abba.
That's just
Grab
sad. At
Yeah.
that point, like, is it just like honors that like Abba has to be on player 2 side? In specific
No,
matchups,
nobody
or
knows
is it
about
just-
this.
No.
Nobody knows about this. Commentators don't know about this.
No, in
It's
fact,
like,
if I ever
these
see
nerds.
Abba in bracket,
just-
I will try to get onto the player 2
Yeah,
side.
I'm gonna do it too. I'm gonna do it too. I'll be like, hey, I know you train on player 1 side. I'm so nice. Let me just go sit at this 2-piece side. You know, I love you. Go Abba.
You know,
Yeah,
they say,
I'm outta
you know the
here.
old tricks.
I'm a big fan of fighting that Abba character. I funny story about fighting Abba. I at Combo Breaker, I was sitting there waiting for my match, and it was this local guy. He's an older like Kai player. And he was playing against an Abba, and I look over at my friend, and I'm like, I really hope he loses. I was like, I want to fight Abba so bad right now. It's been a really stressful day. I want to fight Abba.
Beating Abba
Yeah,
doesn't feel good.
unwinding with just a free win.
Yeah, Abba. I'm like, I sit down. And it's the Abba player, is somebody I know, and I'm talking to them a little bit. And I don't know if they knew at the time that I switched over to Justice, so we're just talking, having a good time. I'm hovering over Kliff this whole time, by the way.
You're mean.
And we're just talking, and I go over. I'm like, all right, you know, good, good luck. I hover, I click Justice. They look me dead in the face, and they were like, I would have rather you just called me a slur, man. And so then I sit there and I play, and it is a 5-minute set of me getting hit one time, and the moment they hit me, I dead angled them.
Ah,
I think Justice Abba's one of the funniest matchups in this game. It's like, I don't know what Abba can do, really.
So the matchup is like, it's really not the worst thing ever. Justice has better matchups. Abba, you just have to be really solid as a fighting game player and
Yeah.
not as an Abba player to make it work. So like Skeletal can make it work,
Right.
but nobody else can because they
I-
want a blood pack at the end of the screen and die.
Oh, Erebus, but Erebus is internet.
Erebus, yeah, he lives in Vietnam, so he doesn't count.
You know,
I can't play with them. I'm on the East Coast.
Shoutouts to Vietnam.
Shoutouts to Vietnam. Shoutouts
Yeah.
to Singapore.
Wait, let me pick the secret cliff stage because I don't know if they know about this glitch either.
Secret cliff stage?
So,
Oh yeah, you have to spectate this mirror. Oh baby.
I am. I
So
wanna
what
see some cool
happened?
cliff matches.
What happens is every stage is supposed to have a AC version, a reload version, and a slash version. You have to unlock some of them just by playing the game. So here, this is the normal version. I have to pick the secret. Oh no, you're selected T. Well, it'll come up in the next set. Let's go back to character select.
Yeah, after this game. Yeah.
You have to unselect. So this is the version that you're not supposed to get because it's missing something. You'll see that in the next game.
Okay.
Just somehow you can tell. It doesn't.
No, not the friend trap.
Something's missing.
Shoutouts to Singapore. Shoutouts to the one Disney player in Singapore.
That's my setup. That's my setup, bitch. That's my setup.
Shoutouts to the one player in Vietnam.
Yeah, what are the scenes like over there? Is it really just one Disney player?
So Singapore has probably the best Dizzy player on the planet. That's Amphi, and I think that's the only person in Singapore. And then there's, and honestly, who knows? Could be bigger, and I just don't know about it.
Yeah, I mean that's how it was for Pakistani Tekken. Where, like, there's an entire world godlike scene here that we just don't know about.
And then Vietnam has Erebus, who is an ABBA player, probably the strongest ABBA,
yes,
period. They put me on to the Justice ABBA not being so bad for ABBA. There's a set of Erebus and Hoda, and it's pretty even. And I'm just like, all right, man, you got it. But
yeah,
Vietnam, so I can't play against them.
Ow.
But
watching these cliff mirrors is like watching two tanks take turns exploding each other.
Oh yeah.
It's a matchup for sure. But yeah, like the international scenes for a lot of places, it's really like one or two people. And then because there's a pretty decent. I can't say big. There's a pretty decent scene in Europe. There's like one guy that I know from Africa.
Really?
I bless the rain.
There's a bunch of Russian players.
There are. Oh yeah, Cliff. So secret stage.
Yeah.
So if you pick old grave once, you'll get an empty grave with no dragons. If you don't move the cursor and you get grave again, you'll see that it's grave name, but London portrait from AC. You hold old stage again, you reselect the grave, and then suddenly you get the actual grave you're supposed to get that has all the cute little chibi dragons.
Baby dragons from Reload, yep.
Oh my god, that's so cool!
Look at it, there they are!
They're so cute. And then you have like a big dragon flying in the back behind the grave as well.
Oh wait, I see them. That's them on the bottom, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then there's a big dragon on the top left right now, and he flies around the whole stage, or she.
This is so cool! Games don't have this kind of thing anymore. Reminds me of the joy of like unlocking characters and things too, even if it makes it like kind of ass for competitive play. But...
Oh yeah, for like tournament organizing.
Yeah.
When you just want to like unlock characters and you're a Marvel vs. 2 tournament organizer.
Day one.
I was gonna say too, I
Smash
think
brackets.
KOF 11 for PS2, you have to go through the entire combo trials thing and do I think a certain amount of hours to get Mai Shiranui, and that's like a probably pretty popular character that people want to play.
The KOF 11 on arcade, you have to run the game for like 1100 hours.
What?
Yeah, there's like characters that only get unlocked with like time.
That's crazy.
That's just mean.
I like when I was messing with the game. Actually, it was last night. It was every character that I was interested in are one of the time unlock characters.
Oh, you little
Can you imagine being in an arcade and being the guy who unlocks this and being like, guys, I didn't look.
I was like, he's gonna throw. He's gonna throw.
I had the same idea.
It's like Reptile.
Yeah.
Oh, the sweaty IV. Oh, big letter.
What was the condition for getting Reptile?
Oh,
it was a big letter.
I have no idea what the condition to getting Reptile was. I would just show up to arcades and sometimes there would be a Reptile and sometimes there wouldn't be.
I hate
Word up.
I hit kick when I landed, and you hit 2D. Mine's
Word
faster.
up, word up.
I think I could sit and watch this all day.
Oh yeah,
I should have
it's
done.
great.
I should have done 2D. We should have done
What-
2D through each
You
other.
want some fun trivia about 5K counter hit?
Yeah.
Completely untechable.
Wait, you just
38.
can't.
You just gotta take that.
Can
Yep,
you combo
so
that
if-
into like a JS and then just like?
Oh, more. You could just.
You just do dash 5k 6p and then your opponent loses the game.
With counter hits, you get like a so it knocks down and you can get 2S.
I remember
People always
seeing a
get a
meme on
combo.
Twitter. I don't even know who posted it. It may have been one of you, and it was like, fighting game players will be unreasonable because they'll talk about how bullshit a move is or normal, and then it's just this, and it's just a Kliff 5K, and it's just him sticking his like tiny foot out and the
I'm
showing the
dead.
hitbox.
I'm dead.
Oh my god.
I'm dead. That's 5K.
Word up. Word
What a,
up.
what a game. What a game.
What a quality game.
Jeez.
Oh, what? Dude, he
Oh.
just beats 5K even though I'm a frame faster? Oh,
Oh yeah, 5K. Oh yeah. Oh fuck.
I was
Oh,
gonna
yeah.
say, the air grab I think also has the taunt words come up. Is that a cosmetic thing or is like actual to the?
cosmetic.
Okay.
He says Tawake, which is like another idiot kind of word.
He's obsessed with calling you an idiot.
He is.
It's I'm not sure because I know a lot of ground throws don't have like a physical hitbox, but do all air throws? Because I know it comes
Have a
up against
crap box?
like Testament.
Oh shit. Yeah?
Because Kliff's air throw will clear Testament ledge.
Oh no!
Because like I know I think like Soul has one maybe. I know Kai's doesn't.
Oh, get me out.
I think the ones where it's just like them throwing you to the ground don't.
I wanted to check out because I knew that'd be fake somewhere, but then I
Can I
missed
just
my
say-
chance. That. Oh.
Can I just say, I think that's the funniest special in the entire game. The one where Kliff is just kind of like shaking his sword and going, I'll
Oh, did
directly
you know
up.
you can move during it?
He
It
can
has,
move.
it has,
It has directional influence, so you can actually hold six,
Wow.
hold
Yes.
4 after doing that. So
So watch,
basically,
let's show it off at the beginning.
Yeah, let's show it off at the
backdash,
beginning.
And
Okay.
we'll both wiggle forward, yeah.
yeah, it's so funny.
Here, I'll just go back twice. Here, check this out. So like, I can move a little forward or a little backward.
They're communicating.
Yeah, it's
and then,
great.
and also the more
With
it
fading down.
stays out longer, the more you mash it.
Yes.
Oh, it's a mash input.
Yeah, so you do 623H, and then
Oh, no.
if you keep mashing H, it'll stay out for an indiscriminate amount of hits. I don't know if we know. Do we know the exact number of hits that it'll land at?
I think it's between 47 and 49. Oh shit.
And that's like impossible to get to. I think that there's this one combo video. There's this one combo video that Jake did, and Jake is like a fiend for breaking this game.
Yeah.
But the combo starts at 999 with max gravity influence. And I think that's the only way to actually like figure out how many hits it has total.
I was gonna say, breaking this game. I know this game is old and that a lot of like kits are kind of jank in some ways. Like, what are some of the ways to break this game besides, like, I guess the ABBA thing we talked about earlier? This like.
Oh, here's a funny one. So you know Axel's like unblockable. Like, watch
Oh
this.
no.
Yes.
If you slash back it while falling on it, the animation will still play out of Axel grabbing you and like pulling you up on the chain, but it won't hit you. You're still able to move, so you'll exist on a different level of the stage now. So like your floor is up in the air.
Oh yeah, I have a video on that.
Yeah, we'll have to share clips of Kliff things.
Yeah.
Once again, bottom
another
left
way to-
axle.
Oh, another way to break the game. The game has a limited number of projectiles it could display. So if you're able to fill up the game with projectiles and you do Kliff Super with the dragon teeth, no teeth will come out.
Wait, are his teeth a projectile or like on a different?
Yes.
They're a projectile, but it's a projectile with 0 projectile durability. So basically, if you shoot a fireball through the teeth, the fireball just travel through no matter what, which is unfortunate.
What's the most projectiles you can get out? Justice, Dizzy?
Well, actually, even more. You break the game with the chips IK and make infinite numbers of projectiles, and it ruins the game. I'll show that later, but it's a
It
little
is
tricky.
funny.
Oh shit.
But there's another thing. There's another funny glitch that Kliff can do with his limb sever, which is like the big ground splash. So if you input it, like I think it's the frame that you're touching the ground, you'll get the animation for him doing the plummet, but there won't be any shockwave.
Okay.
And that hit will still un-OTG.
Yeah, that too.
So it has the shockwave priority, it has the shockwave properties, but without the actual like wave. Another funny thing about limb sever is that the higher up you are, whenever you do the move, the bigger the splash radius will be.
So like that's the big super, right? Where
The one where he does like the fall, like when he's in the air and he does like the plummet where he turns all yellow. Oh, if you clash that move with something else and you keep clash canceling it, the sprite stays. The sprite for limb sever stays, and so every time you clash cancel it, the sprite will stack on itself.
So where you just
until
get like
it's just
multiples?
this one. It's just this one really giant yellow max.
No. Oh, nice.
What are more things that can be done? Oh, I don't know how this this glitch works, but you can. And it's a Jake-ism. It's something that he did, but there's a way for you to get Bridget to have 2 yo-yos out, right? Mm-hmm. And have one of those yo-yos be like connected to Bridget, like you can hit it and it still counts as Bridget getting hit.
Wait, I'm confused. How does rolling movement work if she's got 2 yo-yos out?
What happens is you can IK her from across the screen, or she can IK you from across the screen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's like
That's a glitch.
So, like, yeah, I had no idea how that works.
The game stops working normally, basically.
Yeah, but I don't know how it works exactly, but if you do get IK'd from across the screen, I believe this is how you set it up.
It has to be the double yo-yo thing, yeah.
It sends you to Bridget's IK animation, which puts you on the moon, but you don't actually die.
Yeah, you live.
So
wait,
like,
so
if you
like, do you
it with
guys
Kliff,
just continue fighting while the screen is stuck on the moon?
there's just nothing you can do. Because when you're in that animation, you're stuck in place on the moon, because it puts you in the ground. So like, the animation typically is like you face down inside of the moon, right?
Oh, yeah.
What actually happens whenever this glitch in particular is there,
is that
it's just you standing there, but you can't move around. So, what you can do as Kliff is you can keep doing Nate Saddle, which is like the giant pole vault, and it'll dig further into the moon.
You're gonna split the moon in half.
Yeah, so it just keeps going further and further down into the floor. What else is there? Oh, Kliff can FDC his JD and like fly. if one of y'all want to try and do FDC
like
JD.
This? Oh. Whoops.
We need meter. We need meter.
Oh yeah, right. I gotta get meter.
I'm obsessed with how much movement you can have on Kliff. Like, I was doing a step dashing earlier, and I was like, oh man, this is kind of slow and funky.
hard.
But like, see,
There we go. There we go.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, that's basically what it looks like. It's a frame perfect though. Yeah.
Yeah,
you have
frame
to keep it on
perfect.
the second frame of the JD.
Oh yeah, it can't be too fast or else it doesn't happen.
Yeah, you have to.
you can do the Bridget tack of stalling out for time. I don't know why you would on Kliff, but
I've definitely seen rounds won by doing this.
Yeah.
If it gets that late and you have meter, and you can hit it, like I've seen it work. I've done it before.
Yeah, it's really funny though. Can't do it right now. But
The only issue with it is that you maintain JD's landing recovery, so when you land, you're stuck in place for a moment.
yeah.
JD landing recovery makes me so sad, because if you do JD and you get hit out of it, like you still have the landing
there he
recovery.
goes.
Oh, T5 has seen me do this, where I do this also like 4 times in a row, and then I fall with this.
Oh yeah,
That's a good stall.
yeah.
Sorry,
And sometimes
I
it hits people.
You go over the UI to it.
Yeah. You go. I don't know where the limit is actually.
I don't think there is one.
Yeah, I think you can theoretically go as high as you have meter for.
Yeah, I
they can go
think
higher
when
than moves that
Bridgets
go off
do their
screen.
attack, they can just keep going higher and higher, right?
Hit me good, swear. I just like
Wave
this.
that.
I think if you had high enough tension pulse, it might work.
Wait, why does the
Yeah.
other, why is one of you not building meter?
Oh, I was doing a wave dash, which uses FD.
Mm-hmm.
So if
And then
this
you
is
get meter
a cool technique.
penalty.
If you hold punch and kick, which is FD without the block,
Yeah.
and you just wiggle 4-6, 4-6, 4-6, 4-6, back forward, back forward, back forward, it'll automatically give you the fastest frame dash too.
Ooh.
But you can-
And it's
that's
the
how
same
you-
technique for
that's,
Johnny too.
Yeah.
Oh, you can cancel the recovery of taunt by holding
Oh.
FD as well.
Yeah, you get a faster taunt recovery, and then that's how you do the mix-ups by doing taunt and hold FD ahead of time, and you'll get the first frame FD automatically.
Yep.
And you can also cancel taunt.
Is it a frame
To
faster
a-
or is it?
It's like quite a few frames faster. It's like not. So it's basically like, let's say I do this to T, like what we would be doing in a match. I go
Yeah.
blah 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 blah, hold it, and then I
And
can
then there
mix
you go.
them.
There's your mix. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. Of course, I missed it because this is like a frame on Kliff, which sucks.
Yeah. Rising JK 1 frame on Kliff in the mirror.
Yeah. Yeah.
What does the mix look like on Kliff? I saw on the dust loop that he has 3 overheads.
Oh yeah, you got
You
this.
can do a lot.
You got this sometimes, which you can do on some characters. You got this, which works on some characters. but
Yeah.
not Kliff.
Does not work
Yeah.
on 4 characters in the game.
Kliff,
And it's Kliff, Zappa, Chip, Faust.
Kappa, Faust, yeah, exactly. Also, you have this move, which is an instant overhead. It also has an FRC on it, which is pretty hard. I just used all of my meter,
Oh, that
so
looks pretty degenerate.
it's right at the beginning though.
Like
Yeah,
that,
you could,
you can do that.
or you could go into an instant low with 2D.
Yeah, so you can do like this too.
I'm
Whoops, I
the
fucked it up.
world's biggest TK
Yeah.
Ever
So
fan.
you do that.
Yeah,
There are clips of me
crazy.
doing that to Eddie players.
5D.
Oh, and then of course the Gold Burst IK. Have you
which
seen
one?
this?
Oh, yeah.
I have not.
If you get counter hit Gold Burst, I'm gonna let you do it to be Hado, and then I'll let you play Caleb.
Okay, and then I have to
Oh.
go.
Oh, you have to
5D.
go? Oh, okay.
A little early. But yeah, I'll show the gold burst thing. So if you get a counter hit gold burst in the corner, this is popularized by Jake, so we just call it Jake Special. But yeah, if you want to do the Jake, like basically
here I
like,
go.
you'll
So
push
let's
him
just
over
have
here.
me- Yeah.
So you just want, all you have to do is bait like a hit of something. So oftentimes like Jake will do a knockdown. He'll go like this. It'll counter hit you.
Oh my god.
FRC into this. RC
Yeah,
into
and
that.
then RC, and then
No!
yeah, and if they don't mash, yeah.
It's like funny thing. If you know your opponent's on pad, they're not mashing out.
It's like guaranteed. It's like
You
near
just do it.
guaranteed.
You just do it.
I
that
had.
gave me.
Oh, it's oh yeah.
Yeah, 'cause
No.
you gotta go. Yeah, his IK activation animation is very slow.
Yeah, it makes it to where you just can't use it on ABBA. However, you get a fully charged 6H when ABBA goes in.
Well, actually, no,
Wait,
you
what do
can
you mean you
FRC.
can't use it on ABBA?
It's too slow.
I'll go back to room.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah.
It is a slow.
Well, there are
startup.
situations where you can.
If you get like a weird counter hit.
No,
Jake-
S Fireball. If you get like 236S Ender and you FRC
Yeah.
it, you have enough time to IK activate and then do it. It should
Yeah.
be in Suka.
What they meant earlier was like you can't knock down ABBA, see the
Oh,
cheese
yeah,
mix
no,
it in
yeah,
Goku
yeah,
mode,
no,
and, then,
no.
and then activate it. Yeah, you have to set it up.
You get the one thing you do get on Abba too, Caleb, I think, is not only do you get full charge 6H, you can stun her on like the second, third of the Moroha gauge from like any basic combo if you have FB chop, right?
Mhm.
And then when she gets up, when she's stunned, she'll still have 1/3 of the gauge left. And you do a combo, and then she wakes up and then goes into Suka, so then you get a fully charged 6H
6H.
after the stun combo.
Yeah, so you get like double combos on ABBA because of that, which is sick.
And you also get better combos on Abba, the only character in the game that has this property as far as I know.
Yeah.
Kliff just gets like better combos on the characters that people hate comboing.
Yep. Johnny, Abba.
I've literally never had an issue comboing any character with Kliff, and then I started playing Justice, and I'm like, God, I hate comboing Faust off of Faust normally for most characters is easier to combo because he's bigger. He's actually a massive.
Isn't he
pain for
he's a
Justice to
lightweight though,
combo.
right?
He's a mid.
Oh, he's midway.
He's mid. He's just really wide. But for most characters, he's like easier to combo. He's a massive pain for to combo. But like, I started playing Justice and I'm like, I hate comboing Abba. I hate comboing Soul. I hate comboing Johnny.
Oh shoot, she did it.
Sometimes is annoying.
I tried to do it.
Almost.
But like, what is it? Kliff gets better routing on Abba. Gets the same kind of routing on Johnny. Actually, gets better routing on Johnny in the corner.
Don't be afraid to use taunt, by the way. It's good, especially over here. Watch them eliminate each other.
Oh wait, what?
It has a little cooldown.
Oh, I didn't
It
see.
has a little cooldown. You have to like wait for the last letter to disappear, and then it's like a few seconds, and then it comes out.
It's kind of cute.
I will do I'll do taunt knowing the letters won't come out so that I can and then I'll just cancel the recovery into drill because people will like run at you to hit you.
Yeah. It's fun.
I'm trying to think of oh, that was something else I haven't covered yet. Hana, a while back we were talking about really cool tournament moments that made you. I was talking with T5 and Caleb about it. You were out. What are some tournament moments that like you think really made you or like really stood out or really cool to you?
Oh, like just like my personal experiences or like tournament moments in general?
Yeah, I was gonna personal experiences, I guess.
Okay.
We were talking like about how T5 got like mocked on stage for like beating Kadako in Frosty's 2024.
Oh, I think I don't know if it was 2-0 or 2-1, but I did beat Elvin at the 2023 Frosties pretty convincingly with Kliff, and I was just kind of like on my game. That felt really good.
Well, I ran down to congratulate you because I was
Yeah.
watching it in the hotel room. I was like, oh my god, is he gonna do it?
Aww.
Right.
Because the weeks coming up to that, you were like, fellas, we were still in the process of figuring that matchup out.
Yeah, I was gonna say, T5, I checked your Twitter and I saw that like when you Faust blocks and Kliff drill, he can get an entire dumbbell combo where he just spams dumbbell over and over again.
Oh yeah, that's fake. Yeah, I made that as a meme because I set
Oh.
the items to
Oh,
only
D.
dumbbell.
Yeah.
Check this out too. Even if I don't counter hit Gold Burst you, if you just get grabbed, the same thing will happen to you. Yeah. So when Kliff has 100 meter, just anything that goes into that disc combo. It doesn't matter if it's a grab or an air throw in the corner. Everything becomes a threat. So Kliff is like a walking bomb when he has 100 meter.
He is, he
It
just
is
sticks onto you
true.
and explodes you.
Yeah.
Honestly, part of the reason that I stopped playing the character is because I only need one mentality like really got me.
I
Yeah.
got one more left in me.
It was straight up. I would be down. I'd be down like 2 games in a set, and I'd be down around, and I'm like, well, time to start gambling, and it worked more often than not.
And then you just liked it. You're like,
And then
oh,
I'm
no.
just like, I don't really feel like I earned that, because like I don't. It comes back to like the playstyle thing. A lot of my playstyle at first when I was like developing it did not feel like I earned wins.
Yeah, that makes sense.
What do you have to do to differentiate them? make it feel
Win
more
on a
earnable.
different character.
Yes, so yeah.
But that's fair though. That's exploration. So it's a beauty of the game.
I started winning on different characters, and I was like, okay, maybe I do know the game, and it's not Kliff carrying me. That was my journey. And to not feeling like a fraud was to win on a couple of sets against good players on like other characters, or to.
I'd say you're absolutely anything but a fraud with all like everything you've done.
All right.
Goodness.
But pretty much, if you change all your 236S fireballs to the P version, the small one, pretty much you'll be 100% safe. The S one gives greater reward, but it's 100% riskier without the FRC.
Oh, with the FRC, it's a cheat code move.
Oh yeah, with FRC that move is broken.
Oh,
it
I was
goes
hoping that
down
while I was getting hit that my taunt projectiles would hit you, but no.
No, I had to jump. That was scary.
I am gonna go take care of my puppies. I don't know if I'll be able to make it back, but I really appreciate y'all having me on. And
Thank
Yeah,
you
of
so
course.
much for
Thank you
coming
so
on.
much
I
for
could
being
really
on.
hear your excitement for the character, and it made me really happy.
yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, no
Bye.
problem. Bye. Another thing that I completely forgot to bring up earlier, and maybe I should have done it when Hana was still around, and it's music-wise, Kliff's theme. I don't know how Daisuke did it, but he made a song that sounds old.
Oh, yeah. So I really like this song because it's a really weird Guilty Gear song.
Yeah.
There's a few of those in the Guilty Gear franchise. If you listen to some of the Exerd later character themes like Ram, Jacko, where they sound almost more like Ace Blue music a little. Not
Yeah,
to say it's bad, it's just different.
Yeah, it's got like the harmonized guitars and yeah.
Yeah, Kliff's theme is not really that either. It's an earlier example of like some of the weirder Guilty Gear tracks that you could run into. Stuff you'd see in like the Korean soundtrack maybe, or like other such oddities. Where like
it's like
Daisuke
that
combines
piano and
like
synth where it's like, huh, this is like kind of like peppy a little bit.
yeah, it's a really good like bluesy sort of blues rock piano. It's ragtime, I like to call it. It's like a ragtime piano, which I think is supposed to be sort of indicative of like not really Kliff as he was, but Kliff as he is now. Almost because he goes from old to young, right? The song also has like that pivot in it, I like to think.
Yeah.
I kind of like the idea then that if young Kliff was ever added, he'd have like an anime-ass like soundtrack, kind of like Chip does, where it's like something really hyper fast and like spunky.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, like that's the kind of character he was. If you look at his design and like the art that does exist for young Kliff, he does look like some kind of anime protagonist. His voice even reflects it. Like he talks with more pep. Where old Kliff kind of like old man yells at cloud.
I'm sure everybody is aware of it, but I also do really like the comment on Kliff's theme, where somebody's like, oh, the reason that it sounds like ragtime or blues isn't just because Kliff is older, because it's like the predecessor to rock, which kind of defines the sound of the other main characters that he taught. Like that's really cool.
Oh, that's really cute.
Yeah, ZZ Top. Like if you think about like ZZ Top in the 70s to ZZ Top in the 80s, it's like that.
Yeah.
Sorry, I think I have a one-track mind, and you said Kliff was like the old man on The Simpsons, and then that just reminded me of the bit that you've been doing, Jay, for a while, where it's Vice and Mature are just Patty and Selma.
Yeah.
Sorry.
For all my goodness, am I wrong?
Good old Kliff. But yeah, the theme song is really great at being that. And I think that gives it unique identity, yeah.
I haven't listened to the X version. I saw on the wiki that there's one for X and XX. I think I've only really listened to the XX version. And I've
the
not
PG-1 version, yeah, is very good. Despite being older, I prefer the XX version. I like the cleaner guitar. But there's a lot of reasons to like the Guilty Gear 1 version more. There's a better like breakdown in the middle. I think the bridge is a little better in that one. But generally, they're both more or less a similar song. It's a very interesting.
I've also not listened to it, but I saw that he actually has a Korean version of Steam. I don't remember what it sounds like at all. I'm sure I've listened to it at some point, but I don't remember. I'm gonna hear it when I edit this, and probably I'll put my comments on screen of what I think about it then. But
it's fine. So like a lot of the Korean Reload soundtrack is like it's very hot and cold for me. Like you have like. I guess I'll just get to talk about the Korean OST. You have like songs that are almost like that are better than most of the other Guilty Gear songs. That Kai's theme in Korean Reload.
Whoa! Holy shit! I'm so sorry to interrupt. That was so cool.
Oh yeah, we have combo videos of just Kliff combos if you're interested in seeing those.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, Kai's theme in like the Korean version. Complete banger. Robo Kai's theme in Korean Guilty Gear might be one of the best Guilty Gear songs.
They're so good. They're the background of every YouTube video. That's how you know.
Yeah, but they used that for an Evo DVD.
It did?
Yes. Pillars of the Underworld, Kai's theme, that was used in one of the Evo DVDs. But like Robo Kai's theme in Korean Reload. But then you have like the weird stuff like Johnny's Korean theme, which sounds like Sonic music. And like...
That is not at all the vibe for Johnny that I would imagine.
Yeah, it's weird. And then you have Anji's, which just makes him sound like he's evil. And you know, like as a big Anji fan, love Anji. That's like my other character. If Kliff wasn't in this game, or if Kliff was for whatever reason not a legal tournament character, I would just be on Anji. I would not have any trouble. But like Anji's theme in Korean Reload is like this really weird like evil song. It sounds like sinister.
I know Baiken's theme in the Korean version is like extremely heavy, like.
Yeah, and so Kliff's theme is kind of not either of those things. It is just all right. It doesn't really have the identity that I think the regular Kliff theme has.
Yeah.
Which is a bit of a failing on its part, I would say. It's just like a good track. I think if I hadn't heard Kliff's theme before, I would think, oh, this is a good song for this character. But with Kliff's regular theme, I'm like, this is way better. Like, way better.
What do I do, IK? I forget!
Oh, 236H.
Damn it! Damn it!
Oh.
Since when do I fail at 2 quarter circles? I'm a fraud.
You know, it's trained you to do like every other clock motion. I don't think she has that input at all, actually. Besides her IK, it's all just like you're drawing like calligraphy with, you know.
Justice don't got no double quarter circles.
That's what I liked about Justice. You just like hold every button on your pad instead.
You got 2 2s. You got 1 DP. You got a couple overdrive inputs.
Oh, don't let Caleb talk to you about 2-2 priority. I don't know if he did you manage to get that into the podcast the last time?
I don't think I mentioned it because
Do you want to do it now? Do you want to vent? Like, do you want let's do the
2-2 priority? Okay, in this game, there's an input priority like system, and the thing that happens to get the most priority are 2-2 inputs. And so, anytime you do anything that has a 2-2 in it, like let's say I'm trying to do a DP motion starting from crouching, right? Like I'm crouching, I want to do a DP. If I don't do it with enough of a break between the crouch and then the next 2, so like if I do it too fast, you'll get 2-2, so you'll get nuke. Same thing will go for Eddie gets it a good bit with his drill. Jam will get it with cards. But anytime that there's any kind of input, get whatever that 2-2 ends up being, and it's very very big. The amount, the length that you can have between the first 2 and the next 2 is quite large, actually. So like, you can do 2, you can be holding 2, you can go back to neutral, do another 2 and a button, and it's like...
Is that for like double nuking then, or like...
It's just like if I was crouching and then I went to block an overhead, and then I go back to crouching because they landed and I want to mash, right? I want to mash like my 2P. Like let's say it feels something around like 10 frames in between the 2s that you can have before that nuke will not come out anymore.
Yeah.
It is quite annoying.
And it is very generous because like you because it's a 2-2 input, and the way fighting game inputs work is that for the first like part of a motion, in this game at least, and in a lot of other fighting games, if you just hold like down, right? If you want to do quarter circle forward, if you hold down to start, you can hold down for as long as you want, and then do like 3 into 6, and then it will count.
Yeah,
as
it'll
2
hold the
6.
charge, right?
Yeah, it'll basically like it'll let you hold the first input, and I believe that does apply to 2-2 in this game.
Like anytime, if it doesn't matter what the direction is in between the 2s either. If there is a 2 and then something and then another 2, it'll be 2-2.
Yeah,
and it comes up a lot in fast-paced scenarios with Justice. So if I'm trying to like, there's like I know like the string that my opponent's doing, and there's like a small gap. And I'm gonna DP through, but I started from crouching, and I go to do the DP, or I try to like churn it out. It's not gonna happen. You're gonna get K nuke, and you're gonna cry, and it's gonna be really sad. I have footage of this happening to me, at Combo Breaker in my set against Deft, who's Amelia.
Did it just go to your camera and you're just shaking your head like no?
It switches to the camera, and I just have like this really pained smile on my face, and like I shrug my shoulders, and I shake Deft's hand, and I go on about my day.
So I don't have too many other things to say about Kliff, but I did have one more thing before I guess we start moving into the closing sections of the podcast, and it was that how did Kliff evolve playstyle-wise? I know that people considered him on the lower end of tiers, and then something happened 2020 with Rollback Era that made it so he became a threat. What was it that happened exactly? I don't know what is it just stun routes were found, or like?
So,
oh my god. I'll let Caleb start, and then I'll go.
Yeah, I can shine some light on this. So, originally, Kliff was this, like, high risk, high reward kind of character. He had access to high damage routes, but they didn't come up very often because you needed specific starters or you needed a lot of meter. And it was just kind of hard to like loop his offense because people didn't really know how to do it. And so what Kliff would be for a long time, like even at the start of rollback, really going on into like late 2021, early 2022, that kind of time. What Kliff ended up being is like, no, it was actually late 2022, whenever everything got found. But what he was at the time was a character who could blow you up under the right circumstances.
Yeah.
But you like kind of had to let it happen. Right? Like, you had to get hit by a specific starter. You had to get hit while in the corner while he had 50 meter. You had to get hit by a crazy anti-air, that kind of stuff.
Makes sense. That feels like how the character was probably intended to be as well.
And so, what ends up happening is, there was this really funny conversation about, it was something really small that Hano had said, in Kliff chat in like the main Discord server, where he like offhandedly mentioned, I wonder if you could like use fully charged 2H in a combo. Because we were talking about like, because the burst safe route for Kliff in the corner is 2d6s FRC and a partial charge 2H, and he was like, well, the stun mod on fully charged is higher. I wonder if there's a way that you could use it in a combo. And I was like, huh, probably. And I at the time wasn't very good at the game, so a lot of my contributions to the character and the way that I would do it is like, I had time, I had free time. Like, I was a student, I had work, but it was like whatever. So I would just do like executional stuff, and I was messing around with it, and I found that you could route into full charge 2H pretty consistently, and you could stun off of it pretty consistently given the right starter. And I think it was probably about a week after that, right?
So this is all coming from just discovering like different charge times for 2H?
It wasn't, it was more so finding a use for like that.
I thought I was blocking that. Sorry.
It was more so finding a use for that move, because it never gets used, like, ever. Fully charged 2H was like, it's not useless. It's really good for like mind games, but you won't be using it very often. And so what ends up coming from that situation is T5 starts messing around with like the 2H for like a week, and is like, this is fine, but I don't really see much of a use for it unless you know something's gonna stun and you want to pull somebody out of the corner for like better routing. And I was like, yeah, it doesn't seem super amazing, just if you know something's gonna stun and you don't have like the meter to route into FB chop for it. And then like probably another week after that goes by, and he comes into the chat and he's like, hey, I saw Jake did this to me in a game like the other week, and it's a clip of him doing like partial charge 6p, and the stun mod for fully charged 2H is 2.5. It's
1.5. 1.5.
Is it 1? I think it was 2.
1.5. No, it's 1. But it does like 70 base damage, so it's pretty good.
So was that the moment where it's like we got the saw theme playing and it's like da 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 da?
Yeah, so partial charge 6p is a 4 times.
Yes, times 4 stun. You are doing that correctly.
That's like double dumbbell? Dumbbell is 2?
Yeah, Faust dumbbell is times 2 stun, and it does like 50 damage, and Kliff partial charge 6p is times 4 stun, and it does 36. So even on a low roll, it does more average stun than dumbbell.
And so he comes into chat and he's like, hey, Jake did this to me the other day, and like I died. Maybe we should start doing this. And it's like the partial charge 6p stuff. And And so what ends up coming from it is like you need 25 meter and like a decent hit to set up like kills. Like the end of the round would end up being like for Kliff, I would say when I started playing, your ideal round is like 4 touches maybe. Depending on the character, how high their health and their guts is. Your ideal round is like a 4-touch game, maybe 3 if they're like a squishy character. And then after this, your ideal game ends up being 2 touches. Your first touch to get meter, and your second touch to stun, which will end up killing them. And so that is like the start of it. That's like the start of things getting really like messed up for the character, and then after the stun stuff comes up, which just makes the character it makes matchups better just because you're killing faster, right? After that, which I will let T5 explain this because he came up with this. There was more put into taunt specific like setups.
Yes.
There's like one thing that I have that nobody else does that you can do mid-screen to set up some nasty cross-ups, but the fun one is whatever he found.
Yeah, so Terragort, who is a very funny Biken player, like really funny guy, he posted at like, I don't remember what but fuck time 1 a.m. because he's in Japan, that he posted fighting Hosa, who is Hosa is an old school Japanese Kliff player, very strong player, plays a bunch of characters, also plays Kliff. Fighting Hosa is like fighting a fisherman with like a really sharp pole, and fighting T5 is like fighting a barbarian with a big club.
That's such a Japanese way to describe that. Sorry.
Well, yeah, and so he says this, and then Hano goes, imagine if they could like combine like setups, like where Hosa does all these like 25 meter taunt setups, T5 routes in the 6P, and I went, oh, I didn't even think of that. Because partial charge 6P, if it hits somebody in the air or on the ground, it is untechable. For the most part. Like unless they're launched really high or they're ultralight, it will knock down. And even on ultralights it does, as long as they're not too high up already. And so I was like, what would happen if I routed into 6P, like partial charge, and then I did taunt, like for Oki in the corner. Like you would do you get a ground slide, you do like IAD or full dash jump forward, late JH like right as you're falling, right as you're about to land, and then you link a charge 6P after and then do taunt. I was like, what is this setup? And it turned out that not only does this crank a lot of stun, because it's a ×4 stun move, it also sets up perfect spacing for taunt letters to be completely gapless on block, allowing for like a meaty taunt letter. Yeah, it meaties, so they can't jump or backdash out. And the minute they block the letters, their only recourse is to block the incoming high-low that is about to happen, or dead angle out. And if they dead angle and I block, you get a full punish in the corner. And this is like a setup that you can just do for 25 meter basically anywhere, as long as you can get into the corner. Which leads to just a true 50-50 that for some characters can end the round in a single hit right after that.
The 50-50 is like safe, by the way.
Yes, because it's rising jump kick.
You get to keep going. You keep doing your pressure afterwards. Yeah, you just keep doing your pressure afterwards. Like, if they block it for some reason, like, you just keep doing pressure. Because, like, you didn't commit anything by doing it.
And so, the worst thing it does, like, the worst outcome if it doesn't kill is that it just loops. And so, when I found that, I was like, hey, this is kind of huge. Because now, not only do you get to pile on, like, a bunch of stun, you also
like
get
plus
to...
70.
Yeah, you're plus 76. That's the sum of the frame advantage provided by the letters. You are over an entire second you have to just run up and do stuff. And because the letters are spaced out really specifically, it's enough for where if you do rising JK, right, a 10 frame overhead by the way, you can see it hit, watch the last like couple letters hit, and then link JS/JH on the way down, which gives you a full launch in the corner. And usually, if you have another 25 meter, you can convert this to another 6H and then it's no matter what. And then, because somehow it doesn't stop there, after Frosties earlier this year, which I am very sad I found this after the Giant tournament, but dust routing improved a lot, because it turned out that if you delay the homing jump on dust, you can ToD every character in the game mid-screen for 50 meter off of dust. Yes. I'm not lying to you.
Lord. Oh my
How?
god.
In what way?
Let me get it. Hold on.
I'll try and do it, maybe.
No. It needs to. You just need to see the video to understand.
Here, you need 50 meter first, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's kind of hard on opposing Kliff,
I will attempt it.
but I have a clip here. If Caleb can't land it, I have clips that we can watch for the closing section.
Damn it.
Sorry.
Oh well, now you know that dash can go under bursts.
Yeah, now I know.
Did you know that?
Sorry, I
I've done
wanted
this.
to because I thought you wanted to get. Sorry.
No, you're good. A Twitter link if you want to see it.
But no, I'm just talking about my contributions to my own style. But I have the worst luck known to man when it comes to dodge RNG. I will get hit one time in a round, and the first dodge that I do will be a backbreak.
Is that like instant death or?
It hurts very, very, very much, and so I don't like to be on defense or to give my opponent the chance to put me on defense. So if I get a hit, I take the Tokido SF4 mindset, and I'm just like, I'm putting you in the blender.
You know, what are Kliff's guts? Does he have okay guts or no?
0.
Yeah. Oh right. Well, that's about
But
that.
0.
Then.
He has the same health values as Eddie.
Oh, so he's just fucked then.
If you get hit, it's normally not a good time.
I feel like if Eddie had normal health in this game, he'd be a little better.
I mean, Eddie has some other issues. A lot of he's kind of inconsistent. Unfortunately, because he's like a cool character. I hate him, and if he was any better, I probably wouldn't be playing the game. But like, you know, the Eddie players are playing Eddie for the love of the game, so that's that's okay.
But yeah, I think that's about it for this. Unless T5, you have anything else left to add before we close this out?
Nope, I've already got videos. That's all I have.
I'll
To
definitely be
explain
putting those
content.
up during this.
Kliff is. I think the one thing that I will say, is that, Kliff is like kind of dying. Like,
What? Really?
Like Kliff Nation has seen a distinct lack of growth lately, outside of like the people who are already good with the character. You know?
What would you say to get more people interested back in Kliff, despite the mid-level wall we discussed earlier?
I don't know. I mean, it'll happen. It comes and goes in time. I mean, like, this character requires a specific kind of dedication and player. And I'm certain we'll see more of those in the future.
Yeah.
It is on the decline, but I also think that, like,
An aging population.
it's already just, like, that's with every character, really.
I think what we've experienced right now is I think what happened, and why Kliff grew as much as he did was there was a lot of new stuff with the character, right? And people were interested. And now a lot of what we get as far as like Kliff players go for new ones, and this is fine, I'm not like hating on anybody, is we get a lot of people who are like, I like to hit the funny button.
Yeah.
And that's fine. That's how I started. I saw a Twitter clip, I saw T5 Twitter clip in like late 2021, early 2022, and I was like, that's funny, I want to do that. And that's perfectly fine. If that's what you want to do, you want to hit the funny button, like, go for it. But Kliff, as a competitive character, is like, I would say we have one Kliff who is entering online brackets, and that's G-Dom, and he does pretty well. But he's been playing Kliff longer than I have, you know, so he was already good before we started on this like train. I would say that if you really. Hano, all of the Kliff players, T5 and Hano, both don't like brackets.
I knew T5 did. I didn't realize Hano was also like, no, I'm good now.
Hano has like really bad tournament nerve, and he's just like not a massive fan of it. But he'll still enter like Frosty and like big majors that he goes to, but he's like not the biggest fan. And I don't main the character anymore, and then Izzy's also like MIA, so. I think like what I would say as far as like to get people into Kliff is he has everything that you could really want from a gear character the moment you can get past how the movement feels.
Yes,
it does not take long. Like, if you start off on Kliff and you don't work on your movement, like, you're not gonna have it. I think spending time in training mode, I'm a lab demon. I have 1,000+ hours in training mode. I think that the most important thing you can do for yourself before you try learning any, like, really big combos is you learn combo into drill, you learn when you can pick up off a 2S, and then you just practice moving around. That's like the best thing you can do for yourself. And if you think the character's interesting and you want to like play the character and you don't want to hit that wall and not be able to get past it, that's what I would say to do, is to work on moving, because every character in this game, barring 2, is moving faster than you are, and probably like looks like they're doing more than you.
You gotta learn how to drive the car before you do it.
You gotta make up for it in some way, yeah. But once you get past that, you're sitting with in my opinion, you're sitting on a top 10 character. You're playing a high tier that can turn rounds around with any hit. And I genuinely mean like any hit in that round is probably you. Even random air hits that aren't like counter hits, you just created a scramble and you have some of the biggest buttons in the game. You have one of the highest super jumps in the game. It might be the highest, honestly. Like you can definitely like fumble around for a little bit and still see yourself doing well. And that's kind of like the beauty of this character is like, to other people who aren't playing your character, you look like you're not doing much. You look like you're kind of flailing around, but once you really like get into it and you like learn what the character's supposed to be doing, you kind of see the beauty of what's happening. You see how these buttons are getting placed in the air and what they're supposed to do, because again, there was this player for a while. His name was Duck John. He's my goat. I love this guy. But the general consensus on his playstyle, to people who don't play, people who aren't familiar with him very much, is that he's just flailing. But if you really go back and you watched what he's doing, he's placing these air normals and these ground normals like so well as like stop signs, like I dare you to hit me kind of thing. And that's what Kliff allows you to do. He is a character that allows you to like assert yourself and to like force your will on the opponent. You can play at full screen if you want to. You can play in if you want to. He is incredibly versatile.
You're reminding me of the LK meme that's been going around, where it's like you can rush down if you want to, you can zone if you want to. It's like freeform jazz.
That is what Kliff is. Genuinely, Kliff is like he's the closest analogy in this game to jazz. And like it's funny because you listen to the piano in his track, and it really reminds you of some of those like jazz rock songs. But he's genuinely the closest thing to, and I've played a lot of the game. I played a lot of this game. I played a lot of the characters. and he is like the Jazz character. If you want to just make stuff up as you go, if you want to focus on just getting random conversions and like seeing funny interactions and all these other things, and if that sounds like appealing to you, if that's like what you like about Plus R is like being able to make something out of what seems like nothing, this is the character you want to play.
Yep.
And
Getting used to movement, number one thing. Don't be afraid to lose. I spent many hours losing.
My win rate on this game is still negative.
How is that possible?
My win rate is negative. I'm like 140 games off of getting it back to even. It has been negative the entire time I played this game, and I've been playing since.
Just dedication, though.
I've been playing since early 2022.
Yep.
I think is when I started playing competitively.
Yeah. So like, that's what I would say, and I think it's kind of a lull. I mean, Kliff is he's just a strange character, I'm not really super comfy in brackets, but also this is 2024 was a really crappy year.
Yeah, don't let me saying all this like push you to do things you don't want to do at all. I was just
No. I will probably enter something else with him in the future, and my real reason is just I don't have any motivation because nobody says the character sucks anymore.
Aww.
Yeah, that kind of.
So if you are watching this video, Kliff sucks. No, he's really bad. And if you see a Kliff player, you should talk about how bad he sucks.
It's true.
You heard it here first.
If that became common narrative again, I would probably start. But like,
yeah, I got my props and I
motivation.
was like, I'm good. I'm good on this.
See, you need to be a low tier warrior, and that's why you're slipping back onto Anji. Well, Anji's pretty okay in this game.
Oh no, I play more Kliff still. No, I'm perfectly fine. I say Kliff is goofy.
It's just
like well before people were even saying like what is known now, and even before I knew what I knew now, I always figured there had to be something. There had to be something here.
I'd say
Kliff
it's a goal
is
still
My Life
accomplished.
Rocks character.
Oh, he is absolutely. Like if you look at a situation other characters are in, I guarantee you, Kliff might have a way out of it, or he might not even care. Oh, Testament does Force Break Skull. Kliff just stands under it.
Yeah, Jam does Ryujin, and Kliff exists underneath it.
Yeah, you stand under that move.
It's so funny. It's so funny. But like, Kliff is. Kliff will put you in situations that other characters will never get to experience. You will experience things with this character that are like actually not possible for other characters to do.
And with that, I think that's the conclusion of the Talk to Me About Kliff episode. Thank you guys for coming on, and I'll DM Hano too to say thank you. This was absolutely delightful. I really like hearing people gush about Plus R. I think more than the other gears, it makes me feel very satisfied to hear about like how deep this goes. As a reminder, if you listen to this episode, Kliff completely sucks, and you should and just give someone that hill to climb over.
Really RNG based character, everything's minus on IB.
Next week, I think we'll be covering Kum Haehyun, so that'll be interesting. Jump back into some Exerd. The Haehyuns have been winning the regionals for that game recently, so that'll be cool. Although actually no, I think Zaymendo actually won, but number 2's still good. But yeah, thank you guys for coming on. Go break your back. Bye.
Bye, everybody.
See ya.
Have a good day.